Happy New Year's to all the gamers out there. Tonight, we're going to be sharing a few of our favorite games, each of our favorite games from 2025.
Yeah, we'll also be talking about the games we played since we last recorded, and there are a lot, a real lot of them. We did a lot of holiday gaming, which was awesome. And this includes getting a whole bunch off the pile of shame, like a significant chunk of games that have sat unplayed finally hit the table for the first time.
Yeah, we finally played some games that have been sitting there for a year or more. It felt great. Finally, we're also going to wrap up with a review of one of our favorite new to us games from the last year, and that would be SETI from CGE.
First, we should introduce ourselves. I'm Sean, your host, and with me, Deanna.
Hey to all the Bellhop boarders.
And of course, Mo, the Tabletop Bellhop himself.
I am Mo Tuzano, the Tabletop Bellhop, your cardboard concierge, working with you to make your game nights better.
We like to record Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern live at twitch.tv/tabletopbellhop, and we love it when people join us in our chat room, the lobby.
Okay, a little bit of housekeeping. First up, disclosure. Wherever you're watching or listening to this, any links you see are most likely affiliate links. Whenever you use one of our affiliate links, it costs you nothing extra, and it does help to support the show.
And speaking of supporting the show, I'd like to point out that this episode exists in part due to the support of our awesome Tabletop Bellhop Patreon patrons. And if you want to join that elite crew, you can do so at patreon.com/tabletopbellhop.
Last up, let's talk about show notes. If you head to our website, we have show notes, and that's where you can find links to absolutely everything we talk about in this episode. Just head over to tabletopbellhop.com/episode 292.
A couple of announcements before we get talking about the best games we played last year.
So first up, I want to announce that we have renewed our Gamma membership and continue to be voting members of the media and events arms of the Game Manufacturers Association. Also, as part of that, we will be attending the Gamma Expo, which is coming up pretty quick. Right at the start of March. We're going to be heading out a little bit early to visit some relatives ahead of time at the end of February. Now, if you do want to know why we are members of Gamma and what Gamma Expo is, and why we honestly think every publisher, retailer, designer, creative, and content creator should be a member, go check out What is Gamma Expo on YouTube, just Tabletop Bellhop, What is Gamma Expo, and episode 236 of the Tabletop Bellhop Gaming Podcast.
Next up, for the locals, we have a couple of events that are coming up in January. Thursday, January 22nd, we're going to be back at Walkerville Brewery for a monthly Brews and Board Games event, which runs from 5 to 9. And then on Sunday, January 25th, we're trying something new, a board game mixer at Hidden Trail Experiences. And that's going to be where we're going to make a chance to play new games with some new people. We are going to have a format where we're going to mix it up, and we determine who you end up playing each game with. So that takes the pressure off you for trying to introduce yourself to a table. It's a way to meet new people and play new games.
And that one's going to run from noon till 4 p.m. And again, it's on January 25th.
If you are a gamer in Southwestern Ontario, be sure to watch tabletopbellhop.com/local for an up-to-date list of our upcoming events. The Tabletop Bellhop team is here to answer your gaming and game night questions. Tonight's question is, what are the best games you played in 2025? Something that's been asked by pretty much everyone we talk to in person or online for the last few weeks or so.
Yeah, it's like every time I run into anyone, like, so what was your best of 2025? What was the best game you played last year? Also, people want to know what our first game we played in 2026 is. A lot of people seem to really care. What was the first game you gamed in the year? Which we'll get to that. I gotta say, like, I don't know if it just something about 2025 gaming wise seemed like extra good. Like, it just seemed like there were so many great games we played this year. Seemed like more so than previous years. And I don't know what in particular that is. Like, I know we didn't make it out to Origins this year, so maybe it's because I didn't get the hype of being at the con to see these games early and build up anticipation. There just seemed like there were more great surprises and fantastic games coming out. And it seems like a trend. Like, a lot of games that came out in the last year are in the top 100 on Board Game Geek. And yes, every now and then on Board Game Geek, you get a little weird spike where a game shoots into the 100 but then drops out. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about stuff that like seems to be firmly now entrenched in the top 100 games of all time. I just gotta say, like, for Board Game, it seems like 2025 had a lot of hits.
It really was a good year, though we should point out that we're not just talking about games that were published this year. We're focusing on games that were new to us this year. And I tried out so many great new to me games this year. And I finally started using BG Stats. Though then when I pulled it up for this episode, I realized just how many plays that I forgot to log. So it's definitely not 100% accurate, but it's still better than last year when I was sitting here going, I played something this year. I know I did. Let's see what Mo says. Yes, that.
Yeah, I skipped a few logs here and there. I wasn't as assiduous this year, but I do try to keep track, if really only for the show. For episodes like this.
I try to log everything. I know I miss stuff because I'll sit back and look and I'll be like, wait a minute. Especially like I'll go to review a game and I'll look and I'm like, okay, somehow I have no logged plays of this game, but I know we have played it multiple times. Tends to happen the most with party games. I tend to forget to log the party games or the quicker games that we don't play that often. Like we're not talking tonight at all about Whoa There Cowboy in our games we played, but I swear we played that over the holidays. But if we did, I didn't log it. So based on what I did log, again, we are using, I know we're not paid. This is not a paid endorsement, but BG Stats, the app it's in the Apple and the Android store. It is not free, but it is a fantastic app for tracking your board game stats. It syncs with Board Game Geek and Board Game Arena and Yucata and a few of the other online plays so that it can track all of that stuff. Now, based on my BG Stats for last year, I played over 340 games. Of that, 138 were different. I did not look up last year's stats to compare, like how many different games I played or how many. But that seems like a lot to me, especially because this was not the smoothest year for non-gaming for all of us. And then of those, apparently 112 were new to me games. And I got to say, any year I play 112 new games, anything over 100. I know that stat's usually in the 40 to 60 to maybe 80 range. 112 new games. The other thing they give you is an H index. That's this thing where you take the number of games you played that many number of times. So my H index was 6, which means out of all those gameplays, 6 of them I played at least 6 times, but there isn't a 7th game. Like there aren't 7 games that I played 7 times. So it's a weird number people seem to care about.
Yeah, and this is how I know that I forgot to log plays, because I know I don't play in every game you play in, but I play in most of the games you play in. And then I play some games without you, but I only logged 145 plays when you logged 340. So clearly I am slacking. But according to the stats that I did have, I played 80 different games, of which 79 were new to me. And my H index was only 4. And there's no way my H index is not a 5, because I know I often will play a game 5 times just to review it, right? So I'm like, there's got to be at least 5 games that I played 5 times. There's no way that's not true.
Yeah.
Plus, there's no way you played, like it says you played 80 different games, so 79 were new. There's no way the only game you only played for the first time, there's only one game that wasn't a classic we got back to the table this year. There's no way. Like,
no,
I know what 2 you played at least.
That's true. Exactly. See, I'm clearly failing.
Yeah, this has been a tumultuous year for me, and as a result, my play and new game counts are a tiny fraction of those previously mentioned, well under 100 plays, including Board Game Arena. So,
all right, stats are kind of boring. I always find it interesting to look at. I don't know how much you folk care, but we're going to go past that and just start talking about the best of those gameplays. So out of the 340 I played, 145 D played, and under 100 Sean played, what was the best of the best for us?
Now, a couple of things about these lists. First off, these games are the best new to us games we played in 2025. They may not be games released in 25, and actually we know for a fact that some of them are not new at all.
Next up, we made sure not to duplicate games. We compared our lists, and I mean, really, this list that we're giving you right now would be much shorter if the 5 of us had each come up with our top games, because there definitely would have been overlap. There are a few games on this list that I think all 3 of us would have put in our top 5. So instead, we split things up and we gave each game to the person who seemed to like the game the most and made sure we each had 5 to talk about.
As usual, we didn't rank these games. All of the games we're listing, we would happily sit down and play right now. I was going to say no favorites, but actually it's all favorites.
Yeah.
For more information on how we decide things like what are the best games we played in the past year, take a look back at episode 283 of our podcast, Don't Make Me Choose, because I hate choosing.
All right, first game of the night. I'm going to go first because I'm the bellhop. Screw you guys. Perch, Inside Up Games. Got to try this at the Adam Game Fair or Game Retreat Gamers at the Gamers Ranch. This looks like this cute, cozy game about birds trying to find places to perch on. But it is a super nasty area majority game with the most unfriendly tie rules I've ever seen, where you not only place your own birds, you get to place the birds of your opponents throughout the game. And like, that is what makes this game. This features variable board setups using tiles, so every game feels different. There are these like special animals you can put into the game, and whoever has area majority controls the animals, and it's things like dogs that can scare the birds. It's got great components, including these little plastic bird nests and birds that stack on top of each other, and just this really fantastic take that gameplay that I loved. Just know going in, this is a cutthroat game. People will be messing up your plans, and that is the whole point of the game. After playing it at Adam, we went to Breakout Con, and I actually taught it to a bunch of strangers because I love the game so much.
It is the cutest, most vicious game ever. I love it. My first choice is House of Fado from Eagle Griffin Games. And if I had to just pick one game, I would probably be going with House of Fado. I called it earlier this year saying that this was my game of the year, and I have not changed my mind on it. It utilizes the bump mechanic that was originally in The Gallerist, and that has made me want to track that game down and play it because I haven't. Part of what I love about this game is that it is simple enough for me to teach to people, to actually get people to sit down and play it. So it's a nice, complex, strategic game that is easy enough to teach and has just simple, really elegant game flow.
All right, well, my first game is SETI from CGE. This started off rough. As we knew, there was a lot to take in, and observers of our first game kind of thought we hated it. There was a lot of sort of grumbling and confusion, but in fact, I loved it. And when I got back to the table with it, it just felt right. It flowed, and it didn't feel the same because there are so many different potential paths to victory you can take. Now, stay tuned as we will be reviewing this later so you can get a lot more of all of our thoughts at the end of the show.
All right, the next one I picked is Beer and Bread from Capstone Games. This was my top 2-player game of the year. This is a heavier multi-use card game that gives you the feel of a meaty farming order fulfillment Euro game in less than an hour playtime. It features 2 different forms of card drafting, where you're passing your hand or you're switching between cards that are out in the market. And it has one of those, I like to call it Nizia style scoring systems, though this isn't a Nizia game, where you score your worst things. So in this game, you're baking bread and you're brewing beer, and you're going to get gold coins for how well you do in each of those. But it's whichever one you did the worst in is your final score. So you have to balance your brewing and your baking. This game has fantastic components. It's a little bigger than I'd like for some spots for playing 2 players, but just the gameplay more than makes up for it.
So I've got Earth from Inside Up Games, and for me, this game has completely replaced a previous favorite of mine, which was Terraforming Mars. I could sell my copy of Terraforming Mars and never look at it again and just play Earth. I am embarrassed to say how long we slept on this game for, that we only played it for the first time in 2025. It is just, it's completely excellent and well worth all the hype around it.
Yeah, for big deck engine building games, Earth is fantastic. Love the theme, love the art, the components. And it's one of those great games where you're always invested, because when you choose an action, everyone else then gets to do the same action at a lesser amount. And then it's all about setting up combos, and it has big turns. I like games where big turns, where you get to do a whole bunch of things because you combo this with that to get this to do that. I feel bad again. Like Deanna said, I apologize, Connor, for taking so long to get her to the table. It was one of those games I had on my shelf. I was kind of intimidated by, and I actually got to play it at Breakout Con, where one of the reps from Inside Up taught us the game. And once they taught it, I brought it immediately home that weekend, took Deanna out to one of our favorite coffee shops and said, here, I'm going to show you Earth. It's not nearly as bad as we thought it was.
All right, well, I've got How to Save a World from Burnt Island Games. This was an interesting one. I had watched it played multiple times before I got to play it. I just hadn't been able to get to stay at the table long enough to be able to play the full games. but I still got caught making mistakes I thought I would avoid, even though I'd watched and sort of learned the game. You're trying to save the contents of a planet from an approaching comet, but everyone thinks they know the best way to save it. You're all working for the same greater goal, but competing in how you do it. A worker placement game with two disconnected locations makes it so you are almost always frustrated. You can't do everything you want due to your location more than the number of workers you have available.
Yeah, I really dig this game. I love the theme. I love the look of the game. It's got a very distinct, very colorful look to it. The thematic elements are really good. The way you're pulling cubes from a bag adds a level of tension. This one impressed me. I thought this one was going to be good, and it was one that met expectations, if not exceeded them. This is a great game from Burnt Island. My next one is Kutna Hora from CGE or Czech Games Edition. To me, this was the biggest surprise of the year. I feel bad for just totally missing this when it was announced. There was something about the look of this game or the feel of it or the weird trays for showing the inventory or your economy. There was something about this game that just did not catch my attention. And we kind of skipped over it until CGE actually gave us a demo copy to break home after a con. And I read the rule book and went, oh, that sounds interesting. And then we played. And I found this fantastic medieval city simulation game that's almost a sandbox where you're representing sets of 3 guilds all working towards building the city of silver and exploiting the nearby mines. And it's on the kind of heavy side, but the actions in this game just follow this logical flow that makes perfect sense. In order to build a building, I have to first go to town hall and get the permits. And then once I have the permits, I need a plot of land. The plot of land's more expensive based on the other buildings in that neighborhood. Once I have those 2 things, now I just have to get the building built. And until that happens, I don't get any reward. Then when I build the building, the cost of the goods that building produces drops because now there's more in the market. But more people move to town because now there's more jobs. All of that's taken care of through this super simple system that just flows. And it has one of the coolest economies using a deck and these weird holders that are just brilliant. I don't know how the designer came up with this system, but it makes the game feel alive where you never quite know. And I'm sure if you play enough games, you can memorize it, but you never quite know what the impact of your actions is going to have until you see it. I adore Kutna Hora. Honestly, of all the games in 2025 that I played that were new to me, it may be the top for mine.
That the card-driven economic system is just so darn clever. Like you said, how the heck did they think it up? I wanted to mention that this was the top pick for our youngest kid. So the 15-year-old, this was, if they had to pick a game of the year, they adored Kutna Hora. And the reason they liked it was that logical flow. Everything made sense. They don't usually like heavier games. They usually like party games, lighter games, but this one just clicked and they're like, everything here does what I think it's going to do and goes together in such cool ways.
And Sean would have liked it if it was set in space.
Yes.
I
did have that conversation.
While Kutna Hora did not really connect with me, I do absolutely appreciate the phenomenal economic system in that game. You whether you like the game or not, you have to respect some of the things they have done in designing this game.
So my next pick is Floristry from Up Games, not to be confused with Inside Up Games. Up Games is a newer gaming company that just came out in the last little bit. Floristry is a Dutch auction game that uses an app to run you through a series of 10 Dutch auctions. It's not actually an app. You have to go to you don't have to download an app. You have to go to a website that you scan a little QR code to use. You can play this game in 15, 30 minutes tops. It's 2-player only. I have probably taught it about 50 times at least now because we bring this out to public play events. It just gets played again and again. It is such a great 2-player filler game. And it is a lovely strategy game where you are drafting these flower tiles. There's 4 tiles that you're going to draft from. The winner of the Dutch auction for that round gets to pick 3 tiles, and then their opponent gets 1. And you're building a window full of flowers. So you're building up your flower shop window, and then you score for majorities. It's just simple and strategic and fun, and yeah, I love everything about it. Oh, and I think it was it got picked up by Barnes and Noble for their Game of the Month or something. So somebody else likes it too.
Yeah, I don't know if it was Game of the Month or Game of the Year, but yeah, Barnes and Noble definitely liked it. That is a fantastic game. David and Tam, designers, Up Games also involves Amon Anderson, though it wasn't him that did the art for this one. I can't remember who did the art, but cute kind of cat. Your score marker is a cat. It's very approachable. It's very easy to get people to sit down and play. Like, this is one of the ones where we host events at a brewery. Well, if we see a couple who is just sitting drinking and kind of chatting, it's one of those games I'll walk over with and go, hey, I know you're not here for the gaming event, but that's what we're here for. And I'm the Tabletop Bellhop. It's what I do. Would you like to try a game? And that's the kind of thing that has won over many people because it's approachable. I'm like, you're collecting flowers and moving a cat for score. Come on, it's simple.
All right, well, next up is one that snuck in just by the end of the year, and that's Galileo Galilei from Capstone Games. We're only just discovering this one, but it's another meaty thematic game with a lot to do, even just in the base game. The action selection mechanism, combined with the Inquisition system, make for really interesting decision points throughout the game, with a number of variables on setup that help keep that game feeling fresh even after continued plays.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to diving more into this one. We don't have a lot of experience with it, but what I've played, I really liked. It has an action selection system I really enjoy, where you pick an action and it's on a queue and it drops to the bottom of the queue, but then you always have to move your telescope up to pick which ones they are. And I don't know, there's just something neat about the theme of not pissing off the Catholic Church too much in this game. It's all about trying to discover the stars while not upsetting people who have a very heliocentric view of the time. And part of the game is actually trying to convince inquisitors, potentially even swaying them to your side, which is just neatly thematic. And then there's publishing papers and going up on tracks. A very satisfying Euro game experience. Next one I have is T-Witches. This one's from the Op. This was another surprise for me, but in a totally different way. Looking at the art of this game and looking at the cute, they call them teapups here, workers of these little magical animated animal teacups or teapots that go around town and collect tea. And there's these witches and celebrities and a million puns. I was expecting a cozy, light, fluffy game. And instead, I got a cozy, fairly heavily complex game, but that still has a push your luck element that kind of keeps that light feel. This is an interesting mix. It has amazing components. It looks great on the table. It has very engaging gameplay, but it's just way heavier than you would expect. Now, once you know what to expect, I found I really like T-Witches. My first game was almost disappointing because I'm like, I wanted this light collecting tea, and meanwhile, I'm having to plan 2 and 3 turns ahead and trying to predict what my opponents are going to do and which way the fountain's going to face 2 turns from now so I can fill in this right contract. A really neat game, a great look. The only disappointment I had with T-Witches is the upgrade kit, which I cannot recommend at all. Just stick to the base game components and you will be happy.
So the next one I have is Arc Nova from Capstone Games. And this is a highly regarded game. It's been in one of the top spots, like now number 2. I think it's dropped to number 3 on Board Game Geek. It's been up there for a while now. But we had not gotten around to playing it. Mo had gotten a copy for Christmas maybe 2 years back, and it's been sitting on our pile of shame for a shameful amount of time. Mm-hmm. And we finally played it. And the first time I played it, I was just like, yeah, it's okay. But like, the more I interact with this game, the more I love it, and I can't stop thinking about it, and I want to play it again. And I now see what all the fuss is about. The action selection mechanism is actually really kind of similar to the one that's used in Galileo, which I thought it was neat because we happened to play them in the same month. So that was interesting. No, I just highly recommend this game. If you haven't checked it out, you're missing out on something.
And it is still hiding in there at 2.
In 2? Oh, it bumped back up. It had dropped to 3 last time I looked. So it's been fighting. Pandemic Legacy and Arc Nova are battling for the number 2 spot on Board Game Geek currently. So if you do like the game, go and rate it, because I got to say, I don't think Pandemic Legacy belongs where it is based on our experience with the game. Yeah, Arc Nova is fantastic. It's very similar to SETI. My first play of SETI was rough. My first play of Arc Nova was rough. The more I play both those games, the more I am enjoying those games. There is a level of system mastery and knowing what to do when. Arc Nova is it's a tactical strategy game because you have to use what you're dealt, but you can go fish and still have long-term plans. And that, to me, is kind of what puts it so high up.
All right, well, I am the beer and pretzels gamer guy. I'm the one who likes the lighter stuff. So what's probably the lightest game on this list is Please Don't Burn My Village from Fireside Games. Now, this is a simple card shedding game that's almost, but not quite, mindless. There's just enough going on that you're going to mess up that first game. You are going to forget something unless you've got an experienced player sitting there watching out for everybody. But that's fine, as it plays super fast, and you're going to want and be able to play again and maybe again and again. You're simply just trying to bid to pay a dragon to not burn down your village and burn down all the other villages. That's all there is to the game. You're shedding cards to do that, but it leads to some really interesting play. And it's one of the very few games where the more players you have, the faster the game goes.
Yeah, the one thing I would call out for that one is just how good it is from 2 players up to the max. I don't remember it's 6 or 8 right now, but it is equally fun at all player count. My last one for tonight, and this was hard. I had about 6 here, and they kept rotating spots, and maybe there's a little favoritism here because Outset Media Games had us go up to Brampton to go to the launch party for this game. But that is Guildlands, the heaviest game so far from Outset Media, the team of Kedrick Winks and Ken Boiter. This, I'm going to call it this, despite the not liking it at first. It is Carcassonne meets Root. I called it that, and they're like, but it's not nearly as complicated as Root. And I'm like, yeah, I get that, but it's as asymmetric as Root. This is a tile laying game where you are all placing tiles to grow a central city in the middle of the table, but every player has a different scoring system. In addition, they each have special actions that only they can take. Super asymmetric, 6 different guilds in the main box. There's a 7th guild you can get. Everyone scoring completely different. This makes it so every game is interesting. The tiles have multiple features on them, and you can rotate tiles, and just highly strategic and tactical. Mainly tactical. It's mostly reactionary, but you can plan ahead, and you really got to watch what you're trying to score. And the game just gets better the more you learn the different scoring opportunities, because you have to change your play based on what other guilds are in play. What you need to worry about changes depending on what guilds are there, and I find that extremely fascinating. The only complaint is they could have done a little better with the color of the roads for setting up the combos to getting coins, but we'll overlook that because the barbecue was nice.
So that's just a note, publishers. If you bring the bellhop out to your events, you might get extra treatment at the end of the year.
There's got to be more to it than that, because both of our kids had Guildlands on their. I asked both the kids today to give me their list of top favorites, and they both listed Guildlands as a favorite. So it can't just be the barbecue. I'm going with the Fellowship of the Rings, the Lord of the... What is the actual official name? I didn't write it out.
The Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Rings, Trick Taker.
Yeah, I did get it right. Okay.
Sorry.
The trick-taking card game. That's right.
The Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Rings, trick-taking card game, I think.
There you go. I knew it was like 16 words long, which is from Asmodee. And I have to say that has been my favorite trick-taker that I've played in quite a long time, even despite the fact that it is a cooperative game. It is a cooperative game where you work through chapters, going through the story of the first book of The Lord of the Rings, and you unlock new gameplay and new characters as you progress, and it is just super fun. Very similar in feel to The Crew, but I like it better because you have asymmetric player powers in play.
Yeah, the most fascinating thing in that game is the fact that your goals for the particular hand of cards you're about to play are determined by which characters you select, which I find really neat.
All right, well, my last one is Vantage from Stonemaier Games. Now, this is one of the more interesting games this year. It's an experience as much as a game. There is a lot going on, and for all the details, I recommend going back and listening to our other discussions of this part board game, part role play, card-driven exploration game. Now, I've played this, and I've helped other teams run through it. And I can see how this could, for many groups, be a lifestyle game if they pick it up. This is possibly one of the least one-and-done board games that isn't a legacy game in any way. Nothing about this game that's a legacy game, but you're not going to be able to just play it.
One of the big things about this, though, compared to others, is that first game is still just as fun as the 5th game.
Mhm.
Like a lot of legacy games require that build up and system mastery. And yes, system mastery does some fun things in this game, but you're going to have fun the first time you play this. This is the one that I'm like, oh, dang, Sean took Vantage. I can't talk about it. So this definitely would have been on my list.
This game is so out of the box. Like, it is the most out of the box thing we have seen in a long time for just a wacky different game. And I loved it, but I can see that it's not going to be for everyone because, like, I was talking to a local gamer at one of our events and they said after they played it twice, they were done. And I was like, okay. And I'm like, but don't you see that as you play it more, it develops and stuff? They're like, no, because I just don't want to play it more. And I'm like, all right. So as I had mentioned, I had asked the kids what their for the list of their favorites. So from Gwen, she went with Tea Witches, Mackie Masters, and Guildlands. And for the other kid, she went with Trash Talk, Guildlands, and Curses and Covens. And then it was also Kutna Horror, but she couldn't remember the name of the game for the longest time. So I had to sneak that one in later.
Fair enough. I gotta say, good selection. Again, Guildlands. I'm surprised by Guildlands. The kids enjoying that much. I think part of it is we could all play together with 5 players, which was nice.
Mhm.
Now, I also sent a notice out to our Patreon patrons and our Discord server asking what some of their favorite games of 2025 were. And I was kind of shocked by the list that came back. I thought we were bad for playing older games and finding those being the best games we found. But man, our fans, at least those who are in our Discord, definitely still like the classics. So this is in no particular order and from a handful of different people. So we have Bananagrams, Crash Talk, Phase 10, Ticket to Ride Legacy of the Old West, Freedom 5, I want to play that one badly, Sentinels of the Multiverse Definitive Edition, Mass Effect the board game, Flamecraft, The Crew Quest for Planet 9, Kill Dr. Lucky, The Traveler role-playing game, Dungeons and Dragons 4th Edition, yay 4th, Humblewood Tales, Another Fine Mess, Koriko, A Magical Year, and Yangshi, Blood in the Banquet Hall.
And just today in the chat room, we've had people calling out Stone Spine Architects, Call to Adventure, Pan Am, Everdell Duel, and Queen Domino.
Very cool.
So there we have some of what we consider some of the best board games we played in 2025 with some extra suggestions from our fans.
So what was the best game or games that hit your table last year in 2025? I want to know. Maybe you can help us decide what to pick up in 2026. What have we missed that came out? I know we're not about the new hotness. There was a lot of stuff that released last year that we did not get our hands on or get to try. So what should we be watching out for? What's the biggest thing we missed out on?
We can't play them all. Leave us a comment, reply, or DM, or better yet, post something over on our Discord at discord.tabletopbellhop.com.
Welcome to the Bellhop's Tabletop, where we talk about the games we've been playing lately.
So around here, the holidays are always a great time for gaming for us. The kids are home. They don't have as many obligations. There are less appointments, and there's just more chances to get together and game. So we've actually got a lot to talk about today. So unlike usual, where we'll go into a lot more details about games, we're going to try to keep things pretty short when talking about each individual game. If you do have any questions about these, hit me up on social media, go to our Discord, ask away. You can ask whatever question you want. And the same goes for those of you who happen to be listening to us live in our chat room. If you do want more details, we will get into more details if you ask. But we're probably going to keep things a lot higher level than usual, or we're going to be here till tomorrow.
We also do reviews and other play talks. So make sure you check out the reviews if there is a game we talk about we like, or ask when we'll be getting to the review of that game.
Yeah, totally true. So first gameplay since we were last year was SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, review copy from CGE. We're doing a full review later this episode. So all I'm going to say here is we did talk about this one on our last episode, a play of this that I found very rough, to the fact that I actually did not enjoy my first play. And all I'm going to say is the game did grow on me, and I enjoy it more every time I play. We also played it again as our first Sunday game night in 2026. So we've been playing this one pretty regularly. And well, if you are here since the beginning of the show, you know this ended up on our top games of 2025 list. So you can expect a pretty positive review.
Yeah, this one, again, that first play, it's rough. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to figure out. There's a lot of little things you can really easily miss and figure out how to use this to do this, to do this, to do this. But once you figure it out, it's worth it. Like it's worth taking the time to figure it all out.
It is a lengthy game, and I'm bad for not actually timing how long we play, but I think it clocked in at 4 hours or something ridiculous like that. But the thing is, I didn't feel like 4 hours. Like I was just enjoying myself so much that I was completely engaged the entire time. And that's how, when we were done, I was like, well, I must love that game because the clock says we've been doing this for an awful long time.
Yeah, it's funny. The game, the Board Game Geek listings shows it as 40 to 160 minutes. I don't know how, even as a solo, you could play this in 40 minutes. Like, I don't know.
They had 20 minutes of that setting the game up. More about that later. Next, 3, 2, 1 countdown. This is a very recent card game we were sent from Grandpa Beck. For a long time, it was their newest game, but they had one more new one out after that, which we talked about last week, or last time. I shouldn't say last week at this point. Last episode, which is Whoa There, Cowboy. 3, 2, 1 countdown is a very simple shedding game with a bit of push your luck. This is the most simple Grandpa Beck game I've played. You're playing sets of cards. You just have to play a set of one card or any number of cards, all the same number. And then you're going to pick up a card. When you get down so that your hand's 5 or less total, not number of cards, but the value of the cards, you can announce countdown. Then you all flip up your cards. Players get points based on their totals. And if the person who called countdown didn't have the lowest score, they get nothing. And it's one of those, the person with the least gets 3, the person with second least gets 2, person with the third least gets 1. First person, you play 3 rounds. Whoever has the least points wins. I have a feeling this is going to be a really good one in our public play events and at the brewery. And I really think my relatives up north in Campbellford are going to enjoy this. This is the kind of game that they would enjoy. And I think it's going to be good for that group where you play it with families and people who like traditional card games.
I get that I am not the target market, but of all the Grandpa Beck games we played, this is the one I've liked the least. Like, it just didn't hold my attention. And when we finished the first round, I was like, great, okay, that was fine, we're done. And you're like, 2 more rounds to go. And I'm like, no, not 2 more rounds. Please let me out.
As much as I do like these sort of simple, again, beer and pretzel type games, this one does sort of require you to be good at bluffing. If you are the non-bluffer in a group of bluffers, you are not going to have a great time. So there's definitely an aspect of that. You want everyone to be comfortable bluffing during this game.
Yeah. Now, another game Grandpa Beck sent us is The Bears and the Bees, which is an older game of his, quite older, that came along with the other one, with 3, 2, 1 countdown. This is not really a card game. This is a take that hexagonal tile laying game. Where you start with a queen in the middle, like the queen of the hive, and you're adding hive, drone, and worker bee cards, tiles around that, as well as flower tiles. And when you're placing them, you have to match 2 of the sides, and they're all different colors. And then there's like honey, which is wild. And if you match more than 2 sides when you place your tile, you get to take an extra turn. Here's where it feels like a card game is. This is a shedding game. You want to get rid of all your tiles. You want to shed your entire hand. It's a very take that game where the workers and the flowers cause other players to draw cards, and flowers make everyone else draw. And if you get to play a bear, they have to be played next to honey. You get to hand a card to someone else. What is not really evident for that is just how much fun this is. This is a really quick to learn game. Might take you a bit the first couple plays to remember exactly what all the cards do. And there is a really good reference sheet for that, but you won't need it by your 3rd game, possibly even your 2nd game. This is one where you're having enough fun that Holly, Deanna's sister, asked to join in and actually played it with the family. The kids really dug it. I have a feeling this can be another one that's going to be really good at our public play events.
And this is a game where it had those moments where people at the table were like, oh, I can't believe you did that to me, like constantly. That just kept coming up where people were groaning or exasperated. It was highly engaging. I dug it. It's good for what it is. It's a solid family weight gateway game. Totally what I expect from Grandpa Beck.
Yeah, I can't wait to give this out and get this on the table at the Walkerville events. Although I will dispute you on one thing. The reference card is the one. This is the game that has the 4 separate reference cards that are double sided and don't. I do not like the reference cards in this game. They did not do what we thought they were going to be doing, and that was an episode of confusion. But
I strongly agree with Sean on that one.
Yeah, no, this is a great one, and we'll just keep those in the box and explain to people how to do it, because that's what we do at Walkerville. We teach you.
Yes. Next, I don't know how many people know this if you've been around long enough, but we tend to play a annual game of Ticket to Ride. I happen to have the big deluxe 10th anniversary edition with the awesome little train cars in it, and I got to thank Big J for that. For anyone who knows who Big J is. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Ticket to Ride, but I've always enjoyed this annual play. It always feels good to get that big deluxe edition on the table because, man, does it look good. Like, I get it out and I'm just like, oh, this is like one of those games I'm happy to own. You get the little metal tin with the little trains in it. And we had an interesting game because I messed something up. Part of that box set comes with the 1910 expansion pack, which is full side cards for all the cards in the game, including new 1910 cards. And then this particular edition has some other weird bonus things, especially the ones that mattered to this game were the big city cards, which are high scoring, like 22-point routes, but they always involve the biggest cities in the US. Well, I somehow mixed up the decks, so we had a mashup of standard cards, 1910 cards, and big city cards, but it worked. But we did have like 3 times more tickets than we should have had even in play. And we ended up with a very high scoring Ticket to Ride game. But you know what? Everyone was under the same constraints. So I almost scored negative by the end of the game. I have never played so badly in Ticket to Ride. But you know what? I still had fun.
I did not want to play this game. For me, this annual game of Ticket to Ride was something we played when the girls were younger because it was a game that they could take part in. And now that they're older and there's so many other games that we could be playing, I was like, oh, why are we playing Ticket to Ride? And if you all want to play Ticket to Ride, I might have something better to do, like comb my hair. I don't know. But I decided to do it because, you know, it's a family activity and I ended up having fun. So Ticket to Ride. And if I remember correctly, it kind of went through the same thought process the last time we did this. So Ticket to Ride is never as bad as I think it's going to be. It's always more fun than I think it is. And yeah.
Ticket to Ride is never as bad as I think it's going to be. That's the new tagline.
And since it's your family's tradition, I found a perfectly good excuse to bow out and do something else because, like Deanna, not a fan of Ticket to Ride. Never really enjoyed the game, so I stepped aside for that one and let other people take the.
And I was jealous, Sean.
Yeah. I don't know. I had the same. We played it, and I'm like, you know, we got to bring this out more often. I actually had fun.
No,
even though I messed up the card decks. Actually, to be fair, messing up the card decks made me want to play again because I'm like, now let's play with the right deck.
That's just because I twomped you.
Maybe I did terrible. I really did. It was really bad. I lost points at the end of the game instead of gaining them. I did good with my route building, but tickets terrible. Boxing Day, we went to the moon from Academy Games, a game we have had far too long. Apologies, Academy. One Small Step. This is a historic game. Academy Games, that's mainly what they do. They do have one line of other games, but they tend to do historic games. This is a game about the 1960 space race. It is a team game at 4 players with 2 players on the US side, 2 for the Ruskies. When in teams, though, each player plays a different department of the US or Russia. And I got to say, just like real life, those departments don't always see eye to eye during the game. This was our first play of the game, and I am surprised by how much I enjoyed this game. There's a lot of neat stuff going on in this. It's an engine building worker placement order fulfillment game where your orders are missions. There's space missions, stuff you are trying to complete. And when you put a new mission in play, you decide if it goes at T-2, T-1, and then it doesn't go until the next round. Like in the next round, everything slides. So anything that's T-2 goes to T-1. Anything that's on T-1 goes to launch. And then you have to fulfill it by the end of the round. Each mission, though, has a basic goal, like spend a small amount of resources. You've completed the mission. Good job. You launched a dog into space. But then there's a bonus. And if you complete the bonus, you get even more stuff. So congratulations, you launched the dog into space and it lived. If you know the real history there, the Soviets got the main goal, but failed in the bonus parts. I thought it was really neat. I for some reason, I expect Academy games to be heavy. Like there's just a connotation for historic games, educational games, anything talking about real life, and just they're a war game company, right? You expect them to be drier and heavier and less fun than they are. And I've now decided I gotta throw that out. I gotta not think that way about Academy games, because like we were blown away by Mare Nostrum Empires. Check out our review of that. Like all three of us really loved that game, and it was so not what a historical heavy war game, right? It was something completely different. And I was holding off on this one because I expected this big teach, and it wasn't. This is a straightforward, really fun game, though Deanna and I should never be on the same team.
Listen, I've been pretty upfront with that whole don't play co-op games with me thing. This should not be news to you. I love this game so much that I almost squeezed it into my top picks for 2025, but I figure having only had one play, it wouldn't be quite fair to put it there. I just straight up love this game, and I can't say too much when you end up putting it aside and saying, I'm not looking forward to learning that one or teaching it, when you're the one that always opens games, reads the rule books,
Sure.
teaches the games, right? But I could not wait to get this to the table. I was the one that picked it out originally when we had asked for the review copy, and then you're like, Deanna, why did you get this game? I don't want to learn it. And that's kind of the experience we had, right? And then when we finally sat down to play it, it was really quite straightforward, super fun, and I loved it. And I'm really looking forward to trying it at 2 players when it won't have that co-op element.
Yeah. I think I was expecting more Twilight Imperium. Is that the right game? Twilight Struggle.
Twilight Struggle.
Or Watergate. Like I just expected a different type of 2-player team historical based experience, and I don't like those other games as much.
There are parts of it that kind of remind me of Twilight Struggle, just a little bit.
But that was also part of it. It wasn't just that the game looked heavy. I will admit that for whatever reason, that theme did not intrigue me. What we got to do is sit down with Sean and play this, but maybe you and Sean should play each other. We'll see how that goes. Next, we head back to Earth with Ark Nova. We mentioned this earlier. This game was in our pile of shame for far too long. We actually played this a few times now over the holidays. Deanna actually moderated a game at one of our pop-up board game cafes. This is currently sitting at number 2 on Board Game Geek. And actually, that's how we sold it at the pop-up board game cafe. We're like, do you want to play the second most popular game in the world right now? This is an action selection game where you're building a zoo represented by both a tableau of cards and a physical hex map. It's got a cool mechanic where your actions are ranked 1 to 5, and that's how powerful they are. But when you take the action, it drops down to rank 1 and everything else bumps up, which is really neat. I really love that mechanic. That is like a highlight of this game. This is a big deck engine builder in the style of Terraforming Mars and Earth. And so far, I don't know about number 2 in the world, but it's definitely worthy of the hype it received over the years.
I had really mixed feelings about this game. Like the first time we played it, I was like, yeah, it was okay. And it didn't give me that, oh, I can't wait to play this again feeling, which to me is my mark of whether or not a game is a good game, right? And it wasn't bad in any way. It was just neutral. If you'd asked me to play again, sure. But I was never going to ask to play Ark Nova. And then I GM'd a group through it at one of our public play events. And I found even just like walking them through it, not playing myself, I was really enjoying myself. We ran out of time. The event got to the end and the game hadn't finished. I didn't want to go home. I wanted to stay and see how it played out. Like I was completely invested in this game that I wasn't even actually playing it. And then we played it again at my mom's for New Year's, and it was a really long game at max player count. But I found that I loved every minute of it. Like I was completely engaged in it for every minute. And then I did have that, oh man, when can we play this again feeling when we were done? Like we finished up at 3 a.m. and I was like, it's New Year's. Maybe we could just play it again. You're like, no, we're going home. But I think I figured something out, because the first time we played it, I won by a lot. And it just felt meh. Like I didn't care if I ever played it again. And then the next time when we played it, we had a pretty close game and Mo ended up winning. And I think that's what hooked me, because I lost. So I left thinking of all the strategies and all the things I wanted to try next time. And then that just got the game lodged in my brain, so I couldn't wait to play it again. And now I've been thinking about that all week, trying to figure out if that's a trend towards how I feel about games in general or not. I don't know. I'm kind of tracking it now.
Yeah, I didn't play the first time with you. The first time I played with the second time. And it was, you know, we got to a reasonably late start on New Year's Eve. So I was probably a little burnt already. And this game's got a lot going on. This is not an easy game. And sitting down at a table with people who have already played it before, I was already at a bit of a disadvantage because you guys knew what to expect and what was going on, whereas I was learning from scratch.
Right.
So I did not have a great experience with that first play. That being said, I think it's a solid game, and I do need to give it another chance because I definitely did not get the best experience at that first play. Too late at night, and again with struggling to learn with people who are already excelling at the game.
Game as endurance test is never best experience.
Yeah. Now that's a bunch of stuff off the pile of shame, new to us, though not necessarily new, like Ark Nova. We also broke out some actual true classics, and one of which was Raw. I have always enjoyed this game, and that hasn't changed. It's a classic for a reason. I still really like it. What was funny about this play, though, is Gwen loves Raw. Like, I played it at the University of Windsor Board Game Club, and it's amazing. And as soon as I said, "Oh, you're bringing Raw," she's like, "Yes, I'm bringing Raw. You want to play?" And we sat down, and she literally like swore and was like, "What the heck is this?" And it ends up the edition she played was the 25th century version, which looks quite different. She hated my copy of the game. She didn't like the way it looked. She didn't like the way it felt. She found things hard to track. It didn't tell you what you kept and what you didn't keep. It didn't help her to keep track of score. The score tokens didn't even make sense to her. And it honestly ruined the experience. She's like, "I love Raw and I hated this." And I think it was an interesting lesson because it's a great indication of how much design and art really matters to a game's enjoyment. And I think that was a good lesson to her, just how important stuff like graphic design can be to your enjoyment of a game. Gwen hated the like of my copy so much, and I made a joke about this in the time. She actually got me the new 25th century edition for my birthday yesterday. So I opened up a shiny new copy of Raw. So at the time, she's like, open it up. You got to see it. I'm like, okay. Well, I was shocked to find two things. One, oh my gosh, what's with that Raw thing? Like, you could kill someone with that. There's parts of this new design I don't like because it's so ridiculous. I should have brought it out. It is taller than this pill bottle. Like, it is this massive Raw on a throne, giant wooden chonk. But not only that, I looked at it and I'm like, oh, look who did the updated graphic design. Mr. Ian O'Toole. And I'm like, no wonder the copy she played made perfect sense and all the icons worked and everything kind of taught itself as you drew the tiles and told you how to do that. So that's actually pretty fun. So I haven't tried the new copy. I haven't opened it up to see if there actually are any rule differences or anything like that. But I hope to do that soon.
And this is a conversation we've had with Sean many times, and I'm pretty sure we've had it on this podcast a couple times. I know we've talked about it out in the general world many times. Is Ian O'Toole is just a master at graphic design. Like, he's a good artist and he makes nice pictures and whatever, but when he does a game, the layout and the graphic design, it just makes the gameplay actually better. And I had that experience playing Vinhos because I had played someone else's copy of Vinhos, and then we got the newer copy with the Ian O'Toole art, and I'm like, the game just makes more sense. It flows better. Everything is better. And I think it's because the dude actually is a gamer and he plays games and understands games. And I think that makes a huge difference. And like, there are some people out there that are making lovely art that are not necessarily graphic designers when it comes to board game. And I know Gwen is, she thinks about she wants to be an illustrator as a profession. And I'm like, well, this is the stuff you need to keep in mind because look at what a difference that this can make.
Yeah. I'd never played Raw before. I haven't played the new version, so maybe that would make a difference. But playing the classic, I mean, it's a game. That's kind of how I walked away from it. I'm like, I could, if someone told me to play that game, we were going to play that game, I'd play it. But I don't think I'd be excited to play Raw.
I'll admit it's been years since I've been excited to play Raw. I am excited to try the new copy, so that worked. It's an auction game. You don't like auctions all that much, but it's a pretty unique auction game.
It is one of the least offensive auction games I've played.
There you go. We got all the taglines tonight. One of the least offensive auction games I've ever played.
And I 100% agree with Sean on that statement.
Yeah, I know you're not a big fan of it either. I've always enjoyed it. Now, speaking of classics that I think all of us enjoy and think are really good, we got Sagrada to the table, which gave me that whole, why don't we play this more often? Like, why has this been gathering dust on our shelves? Like, anytime we're sitting there going, should I bring Harmonies or Azul out? Why aren't we going, should I bring Harmonies, Azul, or Sagrada out? Because they all kind of scratch the same itch. Playing this was one of those, we played it and I'm like, there are like tons of expansions. Why did we never buy any? Like, this is such a good game. It's an elegant game, design and look. There's only 4 pages of rules, like it's a folded sheet. And it's quick. Like, we played twice in one night, like on New Year's Eve, just sitting together. We played it twice. First game being quick and easy with super high scores, and the second one being brutal and hard and made difficult decisions and incomplete windows. And it was great to see that breadth of the game, going from the almost casual beer and pretzels the one time to the, man, I screwed myself over on turn 2 and I'm going to be kicking myself the whole game feel.
Dice are involved. Things happen. I don't know. Sagrada is fine. Like, it was good to get it to the table again and to show it to some folks who hadn't played it before. And now I'm hoping maybe I'll remember the rules well enough to be able to teach it. But I'm just like in no hurry to break it out again.
Huh?
Though I will say, playing Sagrada reminded me that I really want to check out the Legacy version. I am super curious about that.
Yeah, see, this I was one of the people who hadn't played it before, despite knowing about Sagrada for ages and ages. I had just never actually managed to sit at a table and play it. And I did really enjoy it, although I was frustrated. It's one of those games where if you make a mistake, you're quite possibly tanked yourself. And I did, and it did. So, in that game, it's one of those, well, okay, now I got to try it again and see if I can avoid the mistakes and avoid those little pits and perils.
Yep. Next, brand new game in many ways. Brick Like This. This one we were sent from Asmodee, Canada. This is the latest Lego board game, after the monkey one, which I can't remember the name of right now. This is a party game. Monkey Palace? Okay. This is a party game that didn't look like much. I kind of put it off because it looked too simple, but it ended up being laugh out loud fun when we actually played, like, telestration levels of people falling out of their chairs laughing. Basic game, simple. You break into 2-person teams. You're going to choose a card, and the card shows a silhouette of something built out of Lego, and the team has to work together to build. They're ranked from 5 to 8, which is the minimum number of pieces the shape requires. And the higher the number, the more points you get if you actually manage to complete the card. Once everyone has a card, you start with one player looking at the card and telling the other player how to build. And then each round you swap. So one person's the announcer or whatever you want to call it. The other's the builder. The neat part in this that I thought was really good is I just thought you were going to have a timer, or you're just going to play in first one to build wins, kind of like Kitten, which we reviewed before and didn't think too highly of. But no, instead, you just keep going until someone builds it, and then that starts the timer, which is honestly, I think, one of the things that saves this game. Mm-hmm. Then there's advanced rules, which add restrictions, like having to build, your thing must include 3 different colors, or you have to build with your fingers crossed. That one was a little iffy. The most interesting one that was actually a fascinating social experiment, I think, was having to build using words, no words to communicate. You couldn't use words. And I gotta say, I was kind of shocked by how much fun everyone had playing this. We had 3 teams going. Everyone was laughing, cheering, and jeering. There was a lot of lighthearted ribbing. You don't know how to build. What are you doing? Hold it this way. Now that we all know how to play, I think this is another one that's going to be really good, especially at the brewery.
This game is evil. Keep it away from me. This is not a game for me. Once we put in the advanced cards and had to do things like build with our fingers crossed, I was having an actively bad time. That was not enjoyable. I understand that other people at the table are having a good time, and I enjoyed spending that time with my family, but that's about it. This is not a game for me. Yeah, I did appreciate the fact that you pointed out about the timer not starting until one person at the table has completed it.
Yeah, this game is really going to hit or miss with people, as we have just seen. I think it's going to hit or miss twice, because it's going to hit or miss with the base game, because there are people who can build and communicate adequately for this game, and there are people who can't. There are people who are going to have mental blocks that stop them from being able to play well at this game. And there are going to be people like your daughter who are really good at how to both do it and tell someone else how to do it. When I was Gwen's teammate, it was a remarkable experience. Like, watching her ability to both process it and explain it was really impressive.
Whereas yelling at my mom that she doesn't know which one is left was less fun.
Yes. But then again, when you add in the advanced rules, it it could really tank it for some people as it did for D. For me, the wordless one was just like, no, this is too much. That's a step too far. I was with it up until then, but when you took away my words to try and explain how to grab different shapes and colors of Lego pieces, I am having less fun.
Yeah, the big thing with that one is we got to get out to public play, see how people like it. We got to get people playing. We have brought it out multiple times and no one grabs it. And I'm like, come on, it's Lego. You figured people just be drawn to Lego. But what ends up grabbing it are the families who brought little kids and then they just play with the Lego, which is good because it keeps them busy. New Year's Eve gaming. Like I know I said New Year's, some of that was Boxing Day, some of that was Christmas, but actual New Year's Eve, I brought games planning to make a dent into the pile of shame. And we played 4 new to us games, kind of. Because the first one was an expansion, and that's the expansion pack for Skull King from Grandpa Beck that came in that same package as the other games we talked about earlier. Now, this is like a booster pack for Magic, right? It has like 18 cards or something in it, and they're all just new cards for the game, some which are just meant to be added to the game. Like, here is the complete version of Skull King. Use these cards every game, and then there's a bunch of new optional cards. We just tried the ones you added to the base game. I haven't touched the optional cards. I'm not even going to talk about them here. I'm not going to list what they are. Now, as for the new cards you're just supposed to add to your Skull King and play with every time are 7 and 8 cards of the 4 main suits, including the Trump suit, that are worth points when taken, either +5 or -5. A new 0-14 card for each suit, and those are neat because when you play them, you go either high or low, which kind of reminded me of Lunar Skylines, the aces. So it either counts as a 0 or a 14. And then there's this wild card, it's a 15. That counts of any of the 3 non-Trump suits. So what is it? Treasure maps, what is it? Parrots, or I don't even remember. Whatever the 3 main suits are. Treasure maps, pirates, and sails, is it? I don't know. Whatever.
No, sails
the 3
are
main
the
suits.
ones that let you evade. But
yes. And then there's one new pirate. And that pirate's ability, if you're using pirate abilities, is if you win a trick with that pirate, you get to pick a card from an opponent's hand. And that's their play the next time around the table, is they had to play that card. I loved the 0-14 cards. Those are awesome. I like that decision to play high, play low. And it was very useful for trying to hit your bid, right? Like if you're underbid and you're not getting enough, you got that 14. But if you overestimate it or underestimate and you're taking too many tricks, you can always go low. The 7/8s I thought were completely meh. Whatever. They never seemed to really be played strategically. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to throw my 7. Oh, I'm going to throw my 8. It was just they got thrown into tricks, and then it was more complex doing scoring. What I do like, though, is by adding all these in, you can now play the game with 9 players and do a full round of 1 to 10 card hands, which is nice. And from what I understand, if you add the other optional cards, you can now do that with 10 players, which is a nice touch, because that was something they didn't mention in the rule book. And then we sat down on my birthday, literally a year ago, approximately. And we had 10 people, and I wanted to play 10 rounds, and it ends up there aren't enough cards to play a full 1 through 10 with 10 people.
The 7 and 8s are also repeats. Like they're adding in more 7s and 8s to the deck. And yes. I felt like they didn't play out strategically. I didn't care for them, and I didn't like the way the tying rules worked. The 0 and 14s I thought was neat because you get that choice. But otherwise, I think I prefer the base game. And I didn't like that this made the card that shows stuff that comes with the game.
The reference cards.
The reference card. The reference card is really solid in the base game. They didn't give you new reference cards, and now the reference card is obsolete. And it annoyed me. It is a small thing, but it annoyed me because I never remember what the heck any of the cards do, and I want to be able to look at the reference card.
Thankfully, my New Year's gift was not having to play this game because I don't like bidding games. This one in particular is the style of bidding game that connects with me least of all. So I sat this one.
I'm like now feeling overly positive about everything we played, and Deanna hated everything, and Sean liked the light games.
No. SETI. I liked several things that we played quite a bit.
We just haven't gotten to them yet.
I want to like Arc Nova. It was just a rough first time for me.
I loved SETI. I loved Arc Nova.
All right. Next up, Metro Runner. That is one word, I guess, even though the box says it's split as 2. Cyberpunk themed game that we got from Thunderworks game. Pick up and deliver order fulfillment game with a cool theme, striking neon artwork, cool kind of, not bad, polygon art, character pieces. You're moving basically around a giant rondel, collecting resources to complete job cards. And then it also has this cool thing where one of the actions go hacking, and you've got like a 9-piece pipe puzzle where, you're trying to connect the 2 pipes at the start and the end so it flows through with bonuses once you've leveled up. I loved the look and theme of this game. This felt like net running, which is kind of cool, even though like it's apparently you're using public transport and calling cards. But to me, it felt like you were net running, more so than some net running RPGs I played, which is not easy to pull off net running feeling cool. Now we only played once. The biggest problem I had that first play is knowing what we should be doing. Like I can go here and collect cubes, or I can go here and hack, or I could go do this. And why am I doing all this? Should I be taking more jobs? Should I just be trying to complete every job I can? Should I be trying to specialize? But I found all that started to become more clear as we played out. With only one play, I can't really say much more than it was kind of neat, and I kind of enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to play 2.
I liked the aesthetics of this game. It just had a kind of like 90s cyberpunk kind of feel to it that I just dug. Like the translucent pieces that were sort of the neon colors and everything. It just worked for me. It was super enjoyable, but I felt like I didn't. It was maybe halfway through the game before I really got what was going on. And it's not a complex game; it's simple.
No.
But I need to bring it back to the table so I can see how I feel about it because I'm kind of up in the air still.
Yeah, I'm right there with both of you. I think this was really interesting. It was a fun concept, fun look, fun feel, but I wasn't sure I was doing the right things. And so we need to get into the table again. It's that weird sort of first play of, okay, well, I'm doing things, but am I doing the things or am I doing the wrong things?
Yes.
I don't know. And I'm still, after the game, I'm still not sure if I did the right things.
Yeah, exactly. That was, it definitely didn't have that. I finished and went, okay, I didn't win. What would I have done differently? And I didn't have a clear answer for that. Next, again, Pile of Shame, something we never played before. Rebirth. It's a newer Rainer Knizia game published by Mighty Boards, who gave us a copy at Gamma Expo. This is one of those Knizia's place tiles on a hex map trying to group and surround things games. Samurai being probably his most famous example of this style of game. What I liked about this is it's super easy to pick up and fully understand before making your first move. It was the complete opposite of Metro Runner or my first game of SETI. Like I totally got what you were trying to do right from turn 1. And it's got this like neat theme of post-apocalyptic Scotland or Ireland where you're rebuilding the country. And it's almost cozy, except you're a bunch of warring clans who don't like each other, so you're competing. Mechanically, it's all about strategically and tactically placing random tiles you get. So very tactical, and you flip over your tile. They're smart. You get it at the end of your turn, so you get all your whole round to think about where you're going to put this tile. But like, there's only 3 types of tiles. There's either buildings, or there's plants, or there's electricity. And then you're trying to score points, including secret or public objectives. And it's really neat because you actually get like 2 games in this box. We played the Scotland map, which features secret objectives, where if you play next to a certain type of building, you just get to grab a secret objective. Whereas there's this Ireland map that's a little smaller, so there's a little more conflict. There's leftover spaces, but it has power-ups. And like you play next to these buildings to activate power-ups, and there's public objectives everyone's working towards. This was what I wanted. Like, this was perfectly met my expectations. This is a Knizia tile-laying game, and it plays like a Knizia tile-laying game, and it feels like a Knizia tile-laying game, and it's as rewarding as a Knizia tile-laying game. I loved it. I dig this style of game. I will say it might have killed Samurai, because I can't see playing that now that I have Rebirth as an option.
Yeah, I dug this one. I mean, they had me at the theme of post-apocalyptic Scotland. I'm like, yeah, that just geeked me out for some reason. I'm like, oh, I want to try this. But I don't know what I thought this game was going to be. And I don't mean when we sat down and explained it. As you said, once you explained it before we started that first turn, I knew what was going on. But from the quick overview I had when we saw this at a convention and got a review copy, I don't know what I thought this game was going to be, but it wasn't that. I had some other thing in my head entirely, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, but it was not what I was expecting.
Yeah, this game is super straightforward. You know what you're getting into. You're either good at it or you're not, and I'm not. Knizia tile-laying games are not my jam. I found, for me in particular, the randomness impacted me and my play more than I thought it would. I had goals in mind and plans, and the tiles that I flipped up and was able to play completely thrash those plans. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see if my thoughts on it improve. But Nitsy is not really my jam normally. So
yes. If I remember correctly, when I put it on the table, Sean said, "You're going to make me play a Nitsy, aren't you?" So,
and you went, "Yes, it's New Year's. You have to play."
Yes. I had people locked down. We locked the doors, chains on the chairs. Now, our last New Year's new to us game, it's another one we got at Game Expo, is Galileo Galilei from Capstone Games. It's got that Arc Nova like action selection thing where your actions are on a track, and when you take it, it bumps to the bottom. Though the actions aren't ranked here, and there's no like power based on where they are. Actually, it's much more about every spot has a standard action, and it's comboing the bonus with the standard action to do the most you can do. Your actions are going to let you research the stars through collecting points tracked on dice in the 3 primary colors. You're going to spot constellations, major celestial objects by spending those points. You publish papers at a university. You build your own personal research library, all the while trying to keep the Inquisition at bay because the church is opposed to your heretical, non-heliocentric research that you are doing, which I think is a really fascinating theme for a board game. Only played once so far, but I really liked what I saw. There was a real good flow to this game. It just kind of went really well and very quick around the table. Everyone's turns seemed to go really quickly. The game is quite heavy. There are a lot of options. There are a ton of icons, but they're all well designed. Like once you had them down, I didn't find this game overwhelming or confusing like some of the other heavier games we played recently, where it was just too much. I very much, even on my first turn, kind of felt like, hey, yeah, I think I'm going to try to do this, then try to do this and try to do that, as opposed to going, I don't know what I should be doing.
Yeah, I actually thought the iconography in this was really well handled. Like there was a lot to get all at once, but once you figured them out, they all made sense, and I was able to remember them without going, oh, what the heck does that actually mean over and over again, right? I loved this game. I cannot wait to play it again. It is so good.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this one. Again, iconography made sense. The only complaint we had on that entire first play was pulling the little pieces out to move them to the end of your queue for the actions. They're shaped the wrong way to do that easily. So, really the only thing, it's a simple little minor detail, and that's the only thing we could really find to complain about Galileo Galilei.
Yeah, and if you remember earlier this episode, that was on Sean's top 5 of 2025. So definitely a good one. First game of 2026.
Just squeaked it in by playing it before midnight on New Year's Eve.
And I got to admit, all these episodes where we talk about our best of, it's really hard not to weight things near the end of the year. And I forget that some games were first plays this year because it happened back in January or February. And I'm like, oh, I guess that was last year. Like Trash Talk was one. The kids called that out as one of their favorite games. I'm like, we picked that up in February and brought it home in March. Yeah, that was new this year.
Which is why I'm glad that I'm finally tracking things, because my memory puts them all far in the past. And I wouldn't be thinking of things that I played 6 months or 8 months ago.
First game of 2026 was Arc Nova. As Sean mentioned earlier, we started pretty late at night on New Year's Eve. This was our second play for Deanna and I and Brenda, and I just liked the game even more, like significantly more. This was a highlight of the second play was better than the first. I'm hoping it's the same for Sean when we get to sit down and play it again.
I dug it. I want to play it again. I gave it one of my 2025 top stars. So yeah.
Yeah, like I was so overwhelmed. Like I was really focusing on a couple of things that I had figured out and I understood, and so I just focused on those, and whole other sections of that game went completely missing to me.
Then I got one comment with it. What is with the long boards? Holy cow. There's a new style of table hog I've never seen before, where you need like a more than 3 foot long table to even be able to set this game up. It's a choice. Next up, we had a Proto-Win game designer night at Hidden Trail, our second one that went amazing, especially compared to our first. Not that our first was bad, but we had 4 different designers out, which I think was awesome. 2 came as a team showing off a game they worked on together, but still, that was great. We actually played some games. So part of what the publishers get out of that is get to have people who, with the gaming experience we have, sit down and play test their games and give them feedback. Sean and I played through a few combats and talked about the interactions in a game called Shaolin Saturday Night Theater by Detroit game designer Kevin Kayer. And it is based a very hacked up version of the basic role playing system from Chaosium. It was pretty cool that Kevin even came. Like, he came over from Detroit, which I think was awesome. And the main thing we were testing out was his system of dealing with waves of mooks and beating up lots of guys. And that was actually quite a lot of fun. He had a D100 based system, rolled to hit, then rolled to see if he possibly critted. And what I really enjoyed about that was Kevin was very open to feedback. And I think we literally made some progress on his game to make that particular aspect of the game flow a little better and be even more dramatic than it was. And that felt very rewarding as a player.
Yeah, no, it was great, because one of the things that I think a lot of game designers struggle, even if you're just designing something to play with your friends, is you're limited in who you have to play with. And that's the big draw for the Proto Win event, is bring that game out, even if it's not something you're trying to publish, even if it's just something you want to play locally. Get some other people to play, get a few opinions, and maybe you can discover something that you didn't ever think of, or none of your friends had thought of either.
I got to try a game called Survivor Tide, and that is by Brandon Alexander and Marmo Downey from Mangosteen Mammoth Studios, who are a duo of designers from Windsor that we had never met before. It's super exciting to find out that there are more game designers in the city. And when I first sat down, I came into the room late for various reasons, and I sat down, and there was several people already at the table, and I said, I'm just going to stand and watch. And they said, well, we have room for one more. Why don't you join? And I started playing, and I thought I was playing with these two women that I was playing with. I thought they were the designers of the game at first, because they were reading the rules out. And it turns out that very intelligently, they had the designers had said, I want to do a blind playtest. Take the rule book. I'm going to tell you nothing. See if you can play our game. And that's smart. Like, designers need to do that, right? So at one point I was like, wait a minute, if you didn't make the game, who did make the game? that was a conversation I had. But it was an interesting card-based game where we were all shipwrecked, and we were trying to collect the items to make a fire, there was 3 things we had to make. It was a fire, a signal, and something else. And once you got enough wood, magnifying glass, ropes to build and a raft, because we're castaways, we're trying to get off the island or survive. And you were trying to do this, but you're also sabotaging other people, stealing stuff from them, breaking their stuff, because we just don't get along for whatever reason. We are terrible, evil people that are not working together. This is not a cooperative game. And it was super fun, and it had like some fantastic fun moments in it, but it was never going to end. Every time someone got close to escaping from that island, something would happen to pull them not down just a little bit, but quite a ways down, such that I thought, after about an hour or so, we'd had fun with the game. We'd played the game. We had play tested the game, and we all decided to stop, because it felt like we could have kept playing until 24 hours later and have never come to a resolution. So I'm like, there's a cool game here, but you need to do something to make it come to an end.
Yep. Now, Roger Dodger Games was there as well, showing off the latest version of his game, Arachnid. Multiple different groups tried that out. We did have the same issue as our first event, which I think is a good problem to have, is we did have more players than designers. So there was a point where people were kind of standing around one of the games that finished up, waiting for something new to start up. And I grabbed that group to play around with something. So one of the things I'm hoping to do more of at these events isn't necessarily just sit down and play test games, but to talk game design and to work through game design. And Roger had actually brought a lot of tools to do that, but was tied up teaching his game. Well, one of the tools I brought for that is a book called Hand Games 21. That's by Don Eskridge. You can find it all over online. But Don Eskridge is actually the designer of the Resistance and Avalon. So there's your hobby gaming chops. This is a book that really shows off that there is no cost needed to make a game. You don't need any money or components to make a great game. These are games you play with your hands. We played through many different games with different groups. I just kind of, anytime there were people sitting around, I'm like, here, let's play this silly hand game. And people were really impressed by how good some of these games are. Now, the most popular 2 games, and I meant to grab my copy of the book and look up the exact names, but one was called Hand Tanks, and it had to do with like positioning your hand on the table and pointing fingers to try to kill the other player's tanks. Which was a lot of fun. It kind of remember Pencil Tanks, if anyone's played that game. And then the other one was Dance Move Thing, where you had to strike a pose and hold up a number of fingers. but if you hold up the same number as someone else, you're not cool because you're both doing the same moves. That was actually a ridiculous amount of fun. Like that had people laughing out loud and striking poses. And for anyone who is curious about game design, I do recommend this book. It's Hand Games 21 by Don Eskridge. Again, it's 21 different, simple to learn, quick to teach. Every one is 2 pages in this book. Set of I guess, I don't know, it's hard to call them tabletop games, but tabletop style games where you don't need components, no dice, no components, no boards, none of that needed. Now, another point, when multiple games were wrapping up and there were some players that were just kind of standing around doing nothing. Again, we need more designers. If you're a local designer, come on. We have a room full of people excited to play test your games. Come out. Like, if I was a game designer, well, I have designed a couple games, but like this is a one of a kind opportunity. Like you can get your games blind play tested here. But we had the players staying around. I actually went over and grabbed a copy of Ghost Blitz off of the shelf. Now, Hidden Trail Experiences, it's a escape room place and stuff like that, and Pixel Floor, and we do some events there. But they do have a selection of free to play board games just on the shelves there, and they're mainly there for people who are waiting for things to start. Like I've got an escape room booked for 12:30. It's 12:15. Let's kill 15 minutes. Or for people who are sitting around, or if like people during a birthday party, stuff for the parents to play, right? So Ghost Blitz is it's a classic from Zoc, the same company that did Hamster Roll. They make wooden games. You have 5 objects on the table. You flip up a card, and you have to be the first to grab the right thing. And it's either the thing that is depicted on the card or the thing that's not represented at all on the card. And trust me, if I show you that in person, it makes sense. I actually had an app version of this back in the day. We used to play with the kids at restaurants to keep them distracted when they were younger. And man, the physical version is way more fun. Sean joined us for this, and like the group of us who played were laughing and slapping each other and shoving each other out of the way. And we're supposed to play to like 3 or 5 cards. And when they screw this, we played through the entire deck and saw who had his most cards at the end. And then like I left the group and another group played after. So like classic Zoc wooden game for kids was a huge hit at our prototype game night.
Yeah, this game would absolutely go over well at Walkerville. You need the right table. You can't be playing on a big long because everyone has to be able to reach the objects. But it's just one of those games where it's like, beer and pretzels, super fun.
Dee, did you play anything else there or see any other games at that event you wanted to talk about?
No, I mean, I watched a 2-player version of, what is Roger's space game? Dang it, I took a photo of it too. But he was trying out a new 2-player variant that had given some AI rules to run, and it was neat. I watched them run through that. It looked fun. Like, he's got a real game there.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one I played last time. What the heck is it called? If I look it up on my phone, I have photos. I should have shoved it in the notes. Sorry. Space Raiders, something like that. The one with the comic.
Nova Raiders?
Nova Raiders, that's it. Because
it
keeps expanding and you have less and less space on the board to do your pick up and deliver. Yeah. I can't remember. I think the main thing I did was play Survivor Tides.
Yeah. You were tied up for a lot in that game, which is fine.
Yes, I was.
All right. After that, getting together, Sunday night gaming has resumed, which is awesome. And playing with the kids here at home, we've done a couple times. Before the kids went back to school fully and everything, I decided to break out a game that we gave Gwen. I think last year for Christmas, maybe it was her birthday, that just never got played. I was really hoping this would be the chance for Gwen to get a game, read the rules, and teach us. So that didn't happen. So I had to sit down and do the grueling work of learning how to play Flamecraft, which really wasn't work at all. This is from Manny Vega. Some art with Sandra Tang, the same team that did T-Witches, which was one of my top games of 2025. This is the game I wanted from T-Witches. The first time I sat down to play T-Witches. While I grew to love T-Witches, I wanted this cute, cozy, quick to play, easy to learn game. And that's not what T-Witches is. It's cute and cozy, but it is not quick to play or easy to learn. This was super simple. You move a worker, you collect goods, you activate a dragon, or instead you enchant the place by doing order fulfillment. It was simple, but still had plenty of decision points and very valid choices. Like, there were definitely optimal moves, suboptimal moves, and multiple ways to go. This is what I want from a cozy casual game. Mm-hmm. I've seen many people complain this game's too light And I don't know what they wanted, because this was exactly that right level of cute and cozy. But with some take that, you got to watch what other players are doing. You better pay attention. You are going to take moves just to block other people, and that's part of the fun. I have a feeling this is going to be a hit. Like, this is one of those, I can't decide if it's gateway or barely next step. Like, it's right in there. If this was your first hobby game, I think it would be very approachable as someone who hasn't played one before. But like, as people who enjoy games like SETI and On Mars, I had a lot of fun playing Flamecraft for the first time.
It's like the first step on the other side of the gate. Yeah, and it's a lighter game, but it was enjoyable. Your decisions mattered. There are decision points in strategy, and it was enjoyable. It was completely enjoyable. I cannot make fun of Gwen for not being willing to learn a game when I'm lazy and make you do it all the time. So we're just spoiled in this family.
There you
That's
go.
it.
My very spoiled gamer family. It's horrible. Next up, more pile of shame. Told you, lots of brand new games for us this holiday season. On Mars, I just mentioned it. This is a meaty, heavy game from Eagle Gryphon. Vistal Lacerda, 2 dual heavy strategy game that comes in that Eagle Gryphon big box. Like many of the others, the Gallerist and Phenos Deluxe and Weather Machine and all those. This was a bit of a beast, but I got to say, I found it easier to learn than SETI or even Arc Nova. There are 10 actions in the game to choose. You almost want to say 9 because one's extremely simple. And you only get access to 5 at a time, depending on what part of the board you're on. Kind of similar to How to Save a World. There's 2 halves of the board. You're either on the space station or on the planet. So it was interesting to see there's now 2 games with kind of that theme. There's this shuttle that goes both back and forth, and you can kind of hitch a ride on the shuttle if you want. The whole thing, though, is you are competing to construct a self-sustaining Mars settlement, including buildings, developing those buildings into advanced forms, calling in rockets with new colony people, completing missions, exploring the planet, collecting resources, and more. There's a lot of Euro game mechanics in here, like a ton of them kind of all mashed in together. Definitely a feeling of engine building. You're definitely playing sets. You're doing order fulfillment for the missions. There's elements of worker placement, but one of the key things in this game is it is not a worker placement game. It's an action selection game, but some do take workers and more. Our first play was a little rough. Not terrible, but it was a little rough. There's a lot going on. This is a tool Vital Lacerda game. I think it's to be expected with that duo. And one amusing quote I had is Dee's sister stayed for the beginning and kind of watched us set up and just was like, whoa, I'm glad I'm not playing this game. This doesn't sound like my kind of game. And then she went away for a while and then came back. And I think we were still on turn 1. It was one of those ridiculous, it's way later. And she's like, okay, you guys sound like a bunch of adults having a discussion that's just about to get heated. Not a bunch of people sitting around playing a game. But I got to say, as we played, everything started to make more and more sense. And by the end, I was really impressed. And this was the opposite of SETI or the Arc Nova, where like I totally knew what I would do different next time. I'm like, I would have focused on this. I should have bought more of those. I should have done more of this. I should have remembered to use my own shuttles to go between the planets. And like this was one of those, I'm like, I want to play again now and put to use what I feel I learned from the first game and see if it makes a difference.
There was rules questions. There were a lot of rules questions. And when we looked online, we saw that other people have had a lot of rules questions. And I think that's what my sister overheard was us going, but wait, what does this mean? Is it A or is it B? And we never got into a disagreement, but we were definitely debating it and trying to figure things out. It is a complex game. It is like, I think, a 4.6 weight. And it is so good. But the front loading, when you had to sit and explain that game to us when we first sat down, I think you were explaining for 30, 40 minutes straight. Like it was a long teach. And that front loading of information, it was a long teach where it wasn't necessarily making sense. And then once we played and once we got through even just that first round, everything clicked in and it all did make sense. But sitting through that teach going, wait, who does what now? Why does that goes off and then this happens? And it wasn't clicking. And then as soon as we played, like it ends up being like, it felt like maybe a 4.6 is not actually the accurate rating. Once I actually played it, it felt a little bit lighter. I really, really loved this game. I cannot wait to play it again.
So this one was interesting for me because The teach was hard. I mean, it was absolutely no, but I found myself understanding it. Like Dee was asking questions and your mom was asking questions. I felt like I was able to explain them to you using different words than Mo had because I understood it. The problem, however, is we keep saying this is a Vital Lacerda Ian O'Toole game. And I think this is the Ian O'Toole game that is the exception that proves the rule. I think the iconography on this game, I don't want to say it sucks, but I kind of want to, because I'm so used to Ian O'Toole games being phenomenal, being absolutely obvious. His so much of why we love him as a graphic designer and artist is because of his understanding of the games and the way his graphics help you understand the games, because it's just, oh, well, obviously I have to do that because look at the pictures. I did not get that at all in this game. While I understood it, it was not because of the graphics that I understood it. It was because of Mo's teaching and paying a lot of attention and asking a lot of questions. The graphics in no way benefited me.
It would be an interesting conversation to go through piece by piece and break down. I know you, across the board, pretty much did not like the iconography and the graphic design choices in this game. And you were pretty strongly opinionated about it. I agreed with you on some of it, but not all of it. Like I'd say maybe a little less than half of it. I was like, yeah, Sean, you're right. And I mean, I think I have a pretty high bar for Ian O'Toole's work usually. So I'm like, he did not hit that high bar this time. Yeah. And I think about, some of it I thought was perfectly okay that ticked you off. But there were a few things that I was like, you are 100% right. This is confusing and it didn't need to be.
Yeah. See, it didn't bother me as much, but I'm also the one that read the rule book and watched 2 different how to play videos before presenting the game, because those how to play videos included an hour-long teach in one case. Right. And I'm like, how can I distill this down more so we're not spending an hour front-loading this? And I think I got it down to about 35 minutes, but maybe I should have spent an hour. And like, I still, now that we've done it, and this is one of those games where I'm like, I'm not bringing this out to the public until I play it a few more times and get better at teaching it and explaining it, so that I can kind of give people suggestions on why the thing happens. So not only this is how it works, but why it works that way and why that matters to you, which is what I couldn't present having not played the game. And I think that would make it better. The problem is, I don't think I could ever play this game in a way of, okay, let's just start. Because I think you need almost all that info before you make your first decision. And I'm like, I almost want to set up a fake game where you all start in space, so your only options are the space options, right? So I can just teach that part of the game. But even then, the stuff you're grabbing in space is to do stuff on the planet, and it's all interrelated. And there's that whole life cycle of Mars thing that just comes up over and over again in that game. And I don't know how to teach that game better.
I will say one of the things I loved is that they had that starter game setup where they gave you some cards to give you some goals, to give you some direction in a first game, because otherwise you would be completely rudderless. I loved those, and I'm not going to want to play without them.
My problem with that though was they depended what you got, whether or not you could do anything with it depended on where you started, whether you started in space or started on the thing. Like some people were on the planet and had things that let them do things on the planet, and some people were in space but also had things that they had to do on the planet as their goal.
Well, there's some stuff there at the beginning of that game where you have to make choices and you know nothing. Like Mo's like, hey, you're first player, so you get to pick where the rocket is and which direction it's going. And I'm like, you might as well just throw it in the air and see what happens.
Looking forward to more on Mars. It's well regarded. I know we're behind on that one. That is not a new. We own Weather Machine. Weather Machine's newer than On Mars is, and since then there's the Inventors, and I think his latest game is Speakeasy. That duo tends to put out one big game a year, and yes, we're behind. We'll catch up at some point. We played a lot of heavy games. That's actually something that's been nice about this holiday season. I've been
so happy.
Because we had the time.
So happy.
Part of it, too, is like the kids didn't have school, so we didn't have to worry about bedtimes. So we could start a heavy game at 8 p.m. and not have to worry about it going too late. That was another advantage. All right. 2 more to go. That's it. We're almost wrapped it up. Told you it was going to be a lot. Yesterday was my birthday. Happy birthday, me. Deanna and I went around town, did the usual thing, went to a couple cafes, coffee shops, breweries, our usual thing. But we played 2 new to us, 2-player only games while out and about in Windsor. The first was Jaipur, which is sort of new to me. I played this on Board Game Arena, and it was the learning problem. It did not click for me at all. I don't know why. Like, now that I played it, I don't see why I didn't get it on Board Game Arena, but for whatever reason, on Board Game Arena, this game did not work for me. Having everything physically in front of me made all the difference. And like, I picked this up really quickly, like the strategies, the whole bit. Like, I was just like, oh, I get this game now. And I like this game. I love how quick it was. I like how cutthroat and tactical it is. It had that chess-like battle of wits and memory. It doesn't take up too much space. I really enjoyed the moves where I'm like, I know you have 3 of these, so I'm going to collect 3 so that, or I'm just going to grab 2 so I get the top point ones. You're left over with the other ones. And then the back and forth with the camels. And I know for the most part, I'm probably preaching to the choir because Jaipur might have been the oldest game on this list today. But man, it's good. And it's tiny. I had no clue the physical game was so small. It's almost like pocket sized, like it's almost Envy board games small. And I really appreciate that because that's like a throw it in the glove box game.
It takes up a little bit more table space than I expected to because of the way you have to spread out the market. But it's compact. I dig this one. I liked it the first time I played it. Sean taught me how to play it on BGA, or not on, on BGA.
Yeah.
I always want to use the wrong acronym. Years ago, and I dug it from the first play. So I was actually kind of excited when you got this one. And apparently I suck at it because I lost every game I played. But it was just I really enjoyed it, and it is a solid 2-player experience.
Yeah,
but we've now learned that Deanna has to lose her first play to want to come back and win.
Right. That must be like why I like the game. There we go.
Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't played it in quite a while, but yeah, I played a lot of Jaipur on BGA, and it will be interesting if I like it as much physically. Like you had I didn't love it. I didn't love it digitally. I loved it physical. Whereas I played it so much. I love that game on BGA. It'll be interesting to see if I still love it on other ways.
All right, last one this week. We won't take as long a break before next time. Plus, there's no way we're getting in as many games now that the kids are back into school. The Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth. Every Lord of the Rings game is a little too long. That one's not so bad. This one was the opposite of Jaipur. This is not small and portable. Game box is even fairly large, and the game takes up a significant amount of room. For those that don't know it, this is a re-theme and update to Seven Wonder Duel that really changes things up. But you can still feel the Seven Wonders dualisms in there. Like you could tell it's not one of those games where it like shares the name and the pedigree and you're like, this is a completely different game, don't compare them. I'm like, no, you can definitely compare the two games. And out of what playing, the Middle-earth is just better. One player represents the free people, the other is the forces of Sauron. It's still that same card drafting mechanic where you kind of set up like Pyramid Solitaire. It's broken into 3 rounds, and there's a very similar progression as Seven Wonders Duel, where the first round is mostly collecting cards to get you the resources to buy better stuff later. There is some other stuff going on, but that's a lot of what you're getting. In this one, it's instead of resources, it's skills your group has learned. And then you also get the cards that set up as prerequisites to combo, so you don't have to pay for them later. So you're getting a lot of the combo cards early in the game. Second round is about building up your forces and trying to collect sets of things. And then the final round feels very different to me than Seven Wonders Duel. Seven Wonders Duel, it's all these purple cards that do special things and give you endgame scoring. This now feels like the War of the Ring. Like it is the final phase. War has broken out in Middle-earth, and it's all about controlling the map or denying your opponent from controlling the map and trying to be the first to get one of 3 victory conditions. This game has an awesome feeling of ramping up because of these 3 phases, and it's not obvious the first time you play. This is a tactical and strategic game where system mastery, the more you play, the more you're going to learn the game and enjoy it. And even in our second game, we're like, oh, wait, there's only 2 of each race card. Mm-hmm. Oh, wait, the Ents don't come out until the Third Age. Well, that makes sense because they don't come until the war. And the more we played, the more we were learning. But I don't want to spend too much time talking about it because we're going to play this again. We'll be talking about it again.
I adored this game. Like I adored it. And I was surprised. I really liked that it was not asymmetric. The 2 sides are completely the same. They're just mirrored. So it doesn't matter which one you're playing, really. It's just a thematic thing. And it has this really cute chase track as the ring wraiths are trying to catch the ring bearer, and the ring bearer is trying to make it to Mordor. And it's just a clever little acrylic thing that I thought was really neat and really well done. And I love the 3 win conditions. I love the way my brain has to go to play it. I just dig it.
All right, well, that's what we've been playing lately. What about you? If you've got some games you've been playing, stop by our Discord at discord.tabletopbellhop.com and jump into our What You've Been Playing channel and let us know. Search for signs of alien life in SETI. Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, a heavier, science-based board game that's currently ranked in the top 20 games of all time. Does it deserve that hype? You don't need to listen to the stars, as we've got your answer right here.
SETI, I'm just going to call it SETI, okay? We're skipping the rest. You know what SETI stands for. Was designed by Thomas Holick and features artwork and design from 12 different artists, who I got to say did an awesome job both on the art and the iconography and the game design, and especially the back of the box is actually really good. But I'm not going to take the time to call them out here. This was originally published in 2024 by Czech Games Edition, or CGE, who we do have to thank for hooking us up with a review copy.
This Euro-style game plays 1 to 4 players, with games taking quite a while to finish. 2 hours per game is to be expected at a minimum, with your early games potentially taking much longer. We went 4 and 5 hours on this one, as you're trying to figure out not only how everything works mechanically, but what you individually want to be doing with it.
CGE makes great looking and feeling games, and SETI is a fantastic example of this. From one of the best box backs we've ever seen, to the quality of the game's components, the casual design of the rulebook, and some really fantastic player rates. Every bit of this game feels deluxe. Most of the player components in SETI are rewood, which we first got to see in Kutnahora. And we love the detail that this product allows for. The player boards are dual layered with no warp, and the game board itself is like 5 layers featuring a rotating solar system.
And the only thing missing from this game is the LED you put in the sun that I think everyone has upgraded their copy with. Not us yet. There's a lot in this box too. Like there's this, I'm not going to list every component. Again, check the box back. It's great. Cards, boards, tokens, chits, all kinds of little counters. The only problem with all of this is it is big. This game takes up a lot of room. You've got the big central solar system, and below that is this tech board, and below that you're going to lay out some cards, and above that is this whole planet board, and above that you put alien boards, and then once the aliens unlock, you're going to have to put decks for those. And then some kind of stuff goes along the sides, and then there's everyone's player board, and they have to keep track of their cards, and they have to tuck cards. This is a wide, I mean, even more so long game, or tall, I don't know how you'd word it, which really works best on a rectangular table with your players sitting on the edges, not on the ends. You don't want someone at the top and bottom of the table. You just want all 4 of you, 2 on each side on the ends, or even if you can all sit on the same side, that might be useful. Well, it's not the biggest tabletop we've seen. It's up there. I also strongly recommend side tables, especially for the stuff you don't need, like your drinks and everything, which we always recommend just for spill's sake, but you're not going to have a lot of table space left for those kind of things.
There is no table space left for a mug of coffee, guys. None. The theme in SETI is, of course, a search for alien life, and for the most part, the game sticks to actual science and things that groups like NASA and the SETI Institute have actually done and are doing to try to find signs of intelligence out there somewhere. Where it takes liberties is, of course, travel time around the solar system, and in the fact that you do indeed find signs of life in the form of 2 to 5 random alien boards, which are randomized each game. I'm sorry, not 2 to 5. I mean 2 of 5. There are 5 different potential aliens that you can find. In each game, you're going to find 2 of them.
Now, SETI is very much a point salad, with players gaining points for sending their probes around the solar system, visiting comets and planets, launching orbiters and rovers onto planets and moons, researching technologies, finding evidence of intelligent aliens, and then interacting with them once you've found them, completing missions, and more.
Now, all of this is done with an action selection system that meshes standard actions everyone can take at all the time, which are listed on your player boards, with card-driven actions and that are driven through multi-use cards. Now, cards in SETI actually each give you 4 pieces of information and kind of have 4 different ways they can be used. Everyone just shows a free action. You can discard the card and take that free action. You can play the cards as actions themselves instead of one of the standards. You can tuck them under your starting card for income every round, And then they also show sectors of space that you can use the cards to scan that sector.
Basic actions include launching probes and moving them around the board, converting a probe into an orbiter or a lander, and receiving rewards based on the planet that you're at, scanning space for signals, completing your research project, and analyzing the data that you've collected.
Now, card actions are many and varied, and often offer an improved version of a basic action or the ability to take more than one action at once. Many card actions also unlock missions to be completed throughout the game, and some offer end-game scoring opportunities.
Now, through these actions, players will accumulate evidence of alien life. There are 3 types. You're going to find some by landing on planets, winning majorities when scanning distant systems, and by running your computer and analyzing the data you've collected from the scans. Now, all 3 types of data are found for one single alien species. It's been discovered. You flip over the board and get to experience a new aspect of the game. This will unlock additional tokens, may increase the size of the game board. You might get new action options. There are decks of cards, and now ways to use future evidence that you discover through the game.
Another aspect of the game is that when taking some actions, specifically the research actions, many actions on cards, and being the first to pass each round, the solar system rotates using this clever system of layered boards that are split into 3 sections, and it makes the center rotate quicker than the middle, which is quicker than the outer ring. So the outer ring only goes once every 3 times, and the center goes 2 out of 3 times, and the middle always goes.
Now, while doing all of this, players must also be aware of 4 randomized goals that are revealed at the start of the game. At various points in the game, as players score points, they will end up choosing 3 of these 4 goals to score when the game finishes at the end of the 5th round of play.
Now, SETI also includes rules for solo play. This has a single player face off against a bot rival. The bot comes in 4 levels. So if you like a challenge, it's pretty cool that you can try to play through all different levels. And it basically plays just like a 2-player game, with the bot's actions being card driven. And what's neat about this is the bot has a standard deck of cards they start with, but as the game progresses, the bot learns and levels up, adding new cards to that deck. And at the higher difficulty, they start with some of those cards in the deck. And that actually unlocks better actions. They also have their own objective system, which replaces the rules for missions, and they use tech differently. But it is a fully playable game, and from what I understand, a quite enjoyable solo experience, but we did not try that ourselves.
And then when it comes to the main game, there is, of course, way more to it than this, because this is a meaty game with a BGG weight of almost 4. But this should give you a good idea of the flow of the game and how it plays.
So to me, CGE produces a certain feel of game, and SETI fits that feel well. There's a certain style of their game they do. Lost Ruins of Arnak is the other good example of this, where a big part of the game is that you have a limited number of actions. You're going to take actions. The next player's going to take an action until you pass. Once you pass, you're out for the round, and the full round doesn't end until everyone passes. And the biggest part of this game is trying to squeeze extra turns out of that round, trying to do one more thing before you have to pass, where you're going to do one thing to unlock another thing that lets you do a third thing, which lets you trade in, do things to do another thing, to go up on a track to do a thing. And I love that style of play. And I love those, what I like to call big turns, where you set up and carry out a big turn where you do all kinds of things and score points and reveal an alien and get a card and do all that. I love that feeling in a game of completing a big turn like that. And to me, that is the biggest draw of SETI.
I do love that feeling of trying to eke out. That you're looking at it and you're going, there's no way, I'm done, I'm going to have to pass. And then you think of that one more thing you can do that actually allows you to do 3 more things. And it is so satisfying to be the one person still going while everyone else is sitting there waiting for you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so of course, with all this potential for big combinations comes a big complexity to allow such potential. And as Dee said, this is a weight of nearly 4. Now, we were talking about the size of the board, and it's not just for show. As while it might be a little bit bigger than required, there's really a lot of things going on, and they need a lot of space to work with and explain what's going on. You know, every planet has different values for different people who land there, when you land there. Every moon's different. Again, there's a lot going on here, and it's going to be a bit much for some people.
Yeah, with so much to look at and consider and so many different options. Like there's even the amount of basic options. Like, should I launch a probe? Should I be scanning the solar system? Should I use this card in my hand that lets me do another thing? Okay, I got to a planet. Do I do an orbiter? Do I land on the planet? You're going to feel a little lost. It's rather difficult to figure out what you can and should be doing, especially on your first couple of plays. There are just so many different choices. You don't know what's in the deck or what to expect. And then there's learning the iconography. Now, the iconography in this game is really good, but there is no text on the cards to tell you what they do, because an aspect of this game is it's a big deck engine builder, and there are all kinds of different cards that do different things. And unlike games from other publishers, like best example being Terraforming Mars, where, yeah, there's a bunch of symbols, but then in small text under it explains what all that does. There's none of that here. There's just icons. Now, the reference sheet is great. It is a twofold little booklet and does have all those icons, and they're fairly well explained, but it's overwhelming when you don't know. You're like, you get this hand of 4 cards and you're like, what the heck does any of this mean? I found that to be very overwhelming at first. I was actually not a fan of the game in my first play because it just felt opaque. I'm like, yeah, I can do all this stuff, but why? What is my goal? What am I trying to do? Where am I going to get the most points? And as a point salad, it kind of felt like you got about the same amount of points for everything you did too. So it didn't seem like there was one true way to play. Now, of course, once you get to know the deck, that does change.
I am a sucker for multi-use cards. So right there, the game just had me with the sheer, the multi-use cards and the sheer number of choices that were available, and just the way that I had to think about it. I just love the way that this got my brain whirring. And I will say, that player reference sheet, you never put that back in the box. That stays out on the table and is constantly referenced.
Yeah, I will say the iconography is solid and it's simple, but there's a lot of it. And that's where that reference card comes in super handy. And it's you're going to, every time like, all right, this is what I want to do. Let me check and double check to make sure that I'm not missing something up, and maybe 4 or 5 play. If we were playing this game a lot more than we will as reviewers, then we would probably put the reference cards away. But in your first 5 plays, you're probably going to keep them out for that whole time, just to remind yourself, and you're going to be second guessing yourself on a lot of things.
Yeah, and the icons are they're like fiddly icons too, right? Like there's the signal symbol, the gray one, which means anywhere. But then there's that with a little tiny planet in the corner. Well, that means a signal from that planet. And yes, it all makes sense. Now, another thing that does help this game, especially once you get over the overall learning curve of having so many options on turn 1, is the fact that what you're doing does kind of make sense. Like if you want to land a rover on a planet, well, first you have to launch a probe and you have to go to that planet. Now, once your probe's at that planet, now you can land the lander. But then I do find some people get confused because they think of the probe as like a satellite, and people get confused on launching an orbiter. And then they're like, well, can't I just go land on that planet? No, you have to get a probe there. And that's something when you're teaching the game or playing with new players to watch for and make sure you cover, is the difference between a probe, which is something that's on the center board, a lander, which is something that's on the planet board on a planet, and an orbiter, which is something that's on a planet's orbit off the planet on the planet board. And you use the same piece to track all of that. And I do have found with some players that has been confusing to people.
More so than most games, I found it was really important to actually use the real names for the pieces and the moves, instead of just being like the flyy thing or whatever the heck you wanted to call it, because you're constantly referencing it and it is easy to mix them up.
Yeah, that's the one thing I would say that could have been done differently is, and it would have increased the cost, unfortunately, but have a different model for your lander than for your orbiter than for your satellite. Because you do get confused. Absolutely.
Yep, 100% agree. Now, one aspect of SETI feeling fiddly, like I said, it felt fiddly the first game, but the more I play, the less fiddly it feels, but is setup. Physically, the amount of components, the amount of time to set up the components, where they get placed, notching things into place, stacking things, the number of decks to shuffle, how many cards to pull out at the beginning, what the starting resources is. It is definitely almost a barrier to entry for this game and to get it to the table. The research tiles are the worst, in my opinion. But just even without that, they take a long time to set up. Like even now, we played the game multiple times, and we'll sit down with 4 people who know the game, and I'll just take baggies and start dumping them on the table, and everyone will start putting away stuff. It still takes a long time to set this game up. I am not sure how much a box insert could help with this either, just because of the way things have to be set up. I did see some nice 3D printed tools specifically for those tech tiles that I'm considering investing in, because those ones in particular are just a pain to sort and stack.
Yeah, the tech tiles, anytime you have to shuffle tiles, it's a problem. And then you have to shuffle and stack tiles that are all really similar, and then you have to remember which is the back and which is the front, because they both could be, depending on if you're depending on how familiar you are with the game, either one could be the right side up. And then you have to stack a tiny little tile on top of those tiles after you're done. And it's fiddly. But it's important. Like it's a vital part of the game, but you have to go through the hassle of dealing.
Now, of course, all of those little bits though are awesome. We kind of called it out at the top of the review, but I want to call it out again because to me it's notable. Just the quality of this game, the graphic design, the iconography, the quality of the pieces, the rewood, just the physicality of the game, the way the solar system spins. I just love the overall design of this game. It feels like a deluxe edition of a board game. Meanwhile, this is just like the retail edition. My only thing I would like to see is text on the cards explaining what they do. Yes, I know it's the same icons. It always means the same thing. You're eventually going to learn it, but I want to be able to see, like, here's a spinny symbol, here's a pink symbol, and here's an arrow, and underneath it say, rotate the galaxy, take a tech card for free, and then do the, whatever, move your shuttle once. I would love to have that text on those cards. In a way, it reminds me of, was it Hamburg from Queen Games, where I'm like, the Queen eventually put out a deck of cards with text on them, just to make that game so you don't have to look at the reference book as often.
Yeah, I think the only real negative I found when it comes to the components, other than the stacking tile things, but is the outermost track in the solar system can get really easily nudged. And because it is right up against the score track, it can knock scoring pieces out of place. And that's unfortunate. So you do have to watch for that.
You just need to be paying attention with how you're reaching over the table and where people are sitting when you lay things out, because, we did have that problem for sure.
I really dig the theme in this game, too, and the fact it's based on real life science and extrapolates from there. There is some text on all the cards. There's little scientific explanation of what each card represents of something that's really happening in the real world, and I think that's awesome. I like the fact that you have to collect 3 different types of evidence to get a species to show up, which generally means you have to diversify. You're going to have to take a variety of different actions to be able to contribute to all the things, though it's also possible, though not easy, to sit back and let other people do the work for you and try to get points a different way. You all know how much I like a good point salad, and unlike many of them, I find your decisions really do matter in this game more. This is not a game where you play for 5 hours and your scores are all 1 or 2 away from each other, and you're kind of sitting there thinking, yeah, I won, but like, did I have to try that hard, or would I ended up this close anyway? No, this is one where we see close games, but usually the overall point spread is quite wide. You'll find a few groupings of players, I find, when we play.
What I love is it doesn't feel like there's one way you should be going to win, or one thing that's more important to focus on than the others. And each time I've played it, I've been able to play it with going in a different direction. And whether I won or lost, I felt like I did something. I went out there, I discovered intelligent life, I interacted with it, I did cool stuff.
Yeah, I found the second time I played this was a completely and totally different strategy than the first time. No, didn't bear any resemblance to what I did the first game. Mo was talking about those little details on the cards, and it reminded me that the other day Mo had discovered that he'd never heard of the Russian Venera program, which was the Soviet Union's mission to Venus. And it was fun because in our second game, one of the first cards I got was the Venera mission from Russia. Like they've all this real science and space history. So if you do have a gamer who can handle the heavy game, but is a space lover, there's that aspect of this game that they will almost certainly love as well. Because while heavier games tend to be hit and miss for me, this one was definitely a hit. I felt the connection between the game and the actions. It made sense. Even though there were so many different things I could have done and different ways I can and have gone, when you've got that first hand of cards and when you've got your mission goals laid out in front of you, you get a nudge. Like there's that, oh, okay, well, based on what I've got in front of me, I'm going to start doing this. And then other cards will come up and things will happen and you will develop an engine based on that little nudge from where you started, rather than just going, okay, now to get the most points in this, I have to do this, to do this, to do this. I don't want a game like that. I want a game that's a little more natural in this field.
Now, I got to say, once you have a group that all know the rules, have a game or two under the belt, there's a real good flow to this game. Some turns can be long, especially those big turns I was talking about with lots of combos. But I always found when that happened, like for one, I kind of want to watch what the player's doing. Like, oh, you're doing that. Oh, by that. And what? And now you're doing that. Holy cow, you managed to do this awesome thing. But if that's not that, I'm busy making my own plans and trying to figure out how I can set up my own big turn for the next round. The only time I did find it a bit of an issue in this game is there's kind of player elimination. When one player passes much earlier than the others, there is some downtime for them when they wait. And you can sometimes, especially when playing with players of different experience level, have the one player that's like everyone's passed and now you're just waiting for them to finish. We did house rule the game a little tiny bit by allowing the players who have passed to take their income so that they get their new hand of cards so they can start planning for the next round, which I don't think breaks or affects the gameplay in any way, because I truly believe in the randomness of a deck and never feel that if someone draws a card off the top of the deck before me, they got my card. I know that's a thing for some people who believe in fate more than I do, but for us, we know the deck is random, so what if you got to look at your hand before your turn started?
Even though our plays of this went long, I found that I was engaged the entire time. My brain was always thinking about this game and trying to think turns ahead and where I wanted to go. I wasn't bored at any point. It wasn't killing me that my mom was taking too long on her turn or whatever, because it was giving me time to figure out what I wanted to do. And then I wouldn't feel guilty that I was having AP when it came around to my turn. I'd have something planned. And well, people can perhaps compromise what you have planned, and you have to recalibrate. You could plan in advance to a large extent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, there's no way to completely avoid other people stealing your intended actions while you're planning and waiting. But due to the sheer volume of actions, because there's all your standard actions plus all of your card given actions, you've probably got some good, especially because those actions in your cards, no one else is going to steal those. They can't, though. That is the action in your hand. You may have to sort of, move in a different direction. Oh, I got to go to Mercury instead of Venus because whatever. But it's not as bad as many games in this regard when it comes to that whole, people stealing other people's.
Now, this is also a game that is going to become more rewarding the more you play. Knowing the deck, being able to anticipate what's to come later in the game, knowing the types of cards that are out there, starting to realize the distribution, like, oh, there are cards that are going to let you spin the thing and take a free tech. There's one of those for all of the tech decks. They cost 3 credits to play. You start to learn things like that. You get to know it. Now, I will admit, in no game that we played have we gone all the way through the deck. So there's no real chance of card counting, but you can at least kind of play the odds a little bit. Plus, it's just knowing the type of things you're going to get. How easy is it to get extra movement for your probes? How difficult is it to get energy and credits? How much do I really need to tuck cards? Because that's a big thing in this game. Set yourself up early in the game so you have income later in the game. That was the stuff you need to figure out. And because you don't know that, I did not actually enjoy the game the first time I played it when I didn't have this knowledge. When I just had a mitt full of cards that the actions didn't seem to be related to each other. Maybe I just had a bad starting hand that first game where my actions didn't show me that path that Sean described, where he's like, oh, I look at my cards and I go, I'm going to do this. I look at my cards and I'm like, oh, what should I do? I guess I'll launch a probe because it seems like the most logical first thing to do in this game. But the more I played the game, the more I've enjoyed it, and the more each subsequent play after that has gotten better and better. more so than any other game in my collection, except maybe Scythe. Has my feelings changed from my first play to my current feelings on this game. Scythe was a totally different thing, and if you want to hear about that, read our Scythe review on the blog or check out our podcast when we do it.
There is. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So there is a joy of discovery to this game. And as you're playing it the first times, there's a large deck, you haven't seen them all. And even more so, you're going to discover these aliens and interact with them. And they'll have very different ways that you interact with them. And that was very exciting for me on the first few plays, having that feeling of exploration and discovery. But what I think is also worth noting is once that element was played out, once you'd already discovered everything and you've seen it before, it's still fun.
Right.
Like the game was still enjoyable. It wasn't then used up. I was like, we've now seen the stuff and I'm good. I got something better to do. It was still a totally enjoyable game.
I would say, though, now that I know the 5 species, I want more. there is a little diminishing returns there. I'm like, I've now seen all the aliens. I want more different aliens.
But they've put out an expansion with like 5 more aliens, I think, or
did.
something like that, which I have to say I really want.
But I guess my warning, based on my first experience with this game, and I know Sean also didn't enjoy his first game as much, but knew he would find the joy in this game, is that if you are a one and done gamer, if you're like, I'm going to play this new game, it's highly related, we're going to have a great time, and then we're going to move on to the next one, you may not have a good time with this one. Like, I do not think this is a one and done game and can be, like, maybe you get the right group, you get the right coach there, someone to help you through it. You might have a fantastic time with your first game of SETI, but I think your learning games are going to be rough, but I think it's going to be worth it. Like, this is definitely a game where every time I play, I learn something new that improves my gameplay going further, gives me a better idea of the tactics and strategy I should be doing, figuring out what I've done wrong. And I love that. I like learning it. If you are a lifestyle gamer, if you're looking for that game that we're going to play once a month for an entire year, you're probably going to adore this game because it's just going to get better. Your game in December is going to be even better than your game in November, which is going to blow away that game you played in February.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things talking about discovery and actually talking about the aliens even is don't let anyone know what the aliens are before the game. I think the random factor of making sure that the 2 alien races chosen before the game are not known by any player is a huge deal. Like, knowing that in advance will change your gameplay. And so especially if one person knows, then it's going to completely skew things. So I would definitely recommend,
like cheating.
Like absolutely keep those alien races a secret until they are revealed. So my big first takeaway from this game was that I would like it. Again, we had a rough first play. It was a struggle. And I do worry that because of that, much like my experience with Arc Nova, if you are starting a game with an imbalance, so you've got 2 experienced players and a newbie at the table, they could really struggle. Because again, that first game, there's a lot to take in, you're learning a lot. And if the other 2 players are just going along like mad because they know what they're doing, that can really kind of tamp down the excitement for the game for that other new player. So do take that into mind.
Now, for myself, you guys played that first game without me, and I thought it was great because you got all the kinks out, figured out what you were doing, and then I got to sit down and play it. So
now there is one thing I would love to see in this game, besides more alien races, and this shouldn't surprise anyone who listens to our show, is asymmetry, please. But you know what? I don't even have to say please because CG's got us covered. SETI Space Agency's expansion was only recently released. This not only includes asymmetric space agencies to choose from, so you're all playing a different department, but also includes some quick start cards, which actually I'm kind of excited about. They do the same thing as Prelude for Terraforming Mars and are supposed to give you that setup, give you a bit of direction at the beginning of the game, which is something that I think would improve that first play experience. To the fact that I think this might be one of those games that if you get the expansion, even if you're teaching new people, use the expansion. And then there's some kind of new type of signal token that actually makes the scanning action more attractive. And that's something we found the more we play the game. Scanning is definitely kind of the least taken action in the game. There are times it's taken and it's useful and there are reasons to do it, but it kind of seems like the last choice action for a lot of players. So I like the fact that there's something out there to make that action more attractive. So I am really looking forward to that. And this is the game that grew on me. Like, I did not like it the first game. And I was shocked because it's CG, it's SETI, it's super well regarded. Everyone loves it. I remember when this came out, the rep we know from SETI was just like, this is the game for you. I'm not even going to teach you how to play it because I know you'll like it. We're just going to send you a copy when it's ready because they know us well enough. And they're like, this is your kind of game. And it showed up and I played it that first time. I was disappointed. But then I played the game too, and I'm like, okay, I'm starting to see it. Then I coached a game playing it, and I was like watching their joy, and I was learning from their mistakes. I think that was another thing, like Deanna mentioned earlier, about learning from watching people play Ark Nova, more about the game. I got to watch people try different strategies, including someone who just set their own mission goal to hit every planet, which had nothing to do with, what their cards told them to do, but actually worked out as a very valid strategy. And I learned more. And then my next game I played, I had even more fun. Like I have gone from indifferent about this game, thinking I'm probably missing something, to sitting here going, this Sunday, it could bring SETI. I know we've already reviewed it. God forbid we bring out a game we've already reviewed, but I'm kind of thinking SETI might be a good game to play on Sunday.
And I will willingly be there.
So what I want to know from you, folks at home listening to the show, those of you live on Twitch, those of you who watch this on YouTube, driving in your car, listening to our audio podcast, wherever you happen to be listening, what's a game that grew on you? What's a game that you didn't have the best time with the first time you played it, but the more you played, the more you grew to love it, to it becoming one of your favorite games? This ends up being a game I went from meh to best of 2025. Like, that doesn't happen often.
Let us know your thoughts by commenting or replying wherever you found this review, or better yet, by starting up a conversation over on our Discord, which you can find at discord.tabletopbellhop.com.
Just remember not to do that replying or joining us on Discord if you are driving your car listening to us on audio. Wait till you get to the office.
Sounds good.
Well, that was the double bell.
That means our shift's coming to an end. The first podcast recording of 2026 done and over. We're going to have to kick you out of the lobby, but if you want, stick around for a bit because we will chat with you in our after show.
Before we start locking things down, let's take a moment to thank some of our Tabletop Bellhop Patreon patrons, all of whom are awesome.
Andrew Dacey, thank you, Andrew.
Danielle and Owen Thomas, thank you.
Sean P. Kelly, thank you, Sean.
Derek Hisson, thanks, Derek.
Thanks to the members of the Misdirected Mark podcast.
Donna, thank you, Pax. Now, while we've hit the end of this podcast episode, you can always find us at tabletopbellhop.com. Be sure to subscribe on your podcatcher of choice and set us to auto download so you never miss an episode. While you're there, why not leave us a review?
Now, assuming you dig what we're doing, I invite you to tip your bellhop by becoming a Patreon patron, buying us a coffee at coffee, K-O-F-I, or ko-fi.com, or just go to coffee.tabletopbellhop.com, or no, tabletopbellhop.com/coffee. One of those works. Let your geek flag fly, buy some merch. We got some great merch out there, some bellhop mugs, some shirts. I think you can buy ball caps, not that any of us are ever going to wear those. You can find that at tabletopbellhop.com/merch. It'd be awesome to have your support.
And that's all for us for tonight.
For the Tabletop Bellhop Gaming Podcast, I'm Sean.
I'm Deanna.
And I'm Mo.
Thank you.
And game on.